Hello, everybody, and welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today is Monday, December the 23rd, 2019, and welcome back. You guys may remember Martin. Hey, Martin.
The one with the laptop.
Yeah, remember I had that laptop with, I couldn't get the screws were locked in. The laptop had 2 hard drives.
Yep.
And you're just ranting and raving about how nice that laptop is now.
Oh, that thing is so fast, so quick, so smooth. It's better than it was when I bought it.
Which was how long ago?
I think it was 2011, 12.
And then we just did this a few months ago.
Just a few months ago.
So I've known Martin. How long have I known you?
Too damn long.
Too damn long. So at least a week. And I've built computers for Martin in the past, and that computer was like Windows XP. You still have it, and it still works.
Have it, and still use it.
I hope you don't still use it.
Well, my wife uses it. Put it that way.
I hope nobody uses it.
It's not secure. It's not tied into the internet.
Oh, good answer. All right. So, and then because that computer was getting a little long in the tooth, Martin commissioned me to build him a new computer back in, when did we do this? November of 2015. Now, the links for both the laptop upgrade video and the build of this computer from 2015 are in the video notes below this video if you guys want to go back and reference the build of this computer and all the parts. Now, normally computers I build don't have any problems. I don't think that Windows XP computer ever had a...
No, let me tell you, you built it before, and then you upgraded it for me.
Oh, I did do an upgrade.
You did an upgrade.
Oh, okay.
Darn thing's still working.
All right. Well, this computer started giving you some problems.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't boot up. So we have a dead computer.
Yep, dead.
Now, this computer is a little over 4 years old, and this is the first problem?
First problem.
All right. Well, it's one too many, but it's very unusual, but we'll diagnose it live on camera. But first, I want to give a couple shouts out because there's some boxes in front of me here, and these are all contributions to the channel from some generous viewers out there, and I'll just start sort of in the order I received them.
Yeah.
There's a $50 Amazon gift card that was sent by... it says from J. Craig. J. Craig, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I buy a lot of stuff off Amazon, and this is a real great way to show your support. Then I got a box that showed up that I wasn't, I'm like, oh, what's this? It's weird when Amazon brings something to the house and I haven't ordered anything. And this comes from Ross. One of the things on my production wish list,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah, that's what we'll call it, was a new battery charger for these new cameras because my other Canon battery charger doesn't seem to want to charge these batteries. And with these Canon cameras, they don't give you a charger. You're supposed to just keep the battery in the camera and plug the camera in, and the battery charges through the camera. So this is an updated battery charger that's supposed to charge faster. And obviously I haven't unboxed it or tried it yet because I wanted to show you guys on camera. And I hope that this will solve my problems. Also, these extended life batteries that I have, they can take a number of hours to charge up. And this is supposed to be a faster charger, so we'll first see that it's compatible, which it's supposed to be, and hopefully reduces the amount of time it takes for me to recharge everything. So thank you to Ross for that. And then today, just today before we got started, the mailman came knocking on the door, and I'm like, what's this? Well, enclosed is this a bunch of unopened Celeron processors. And let me read the letter. This comes from Ryan Grady. And Ryan says, he's a fellow technician, and he says, hey, Carey, I have not contributed to the channel in a while, so here's my contribution. These Celeron CPUs are great for testing motherboards and great for doing BIOS updates as well as for diagnosing faulty components. I got the idea when I watched your live stream regarding the bad Core i5-8400 CPU that I just did that video. These cover a wide field of motherboards going back nearly 10 years for socket 1155 to socket 1151, 300 series, and everything in between. I'm sure they'll come in handy. I'm wishing you the best of luck and success in 2020. I can't thank you enough for your countless hours of entertainment and knowledge that you share. And that's from a fellow tech, Ryan Grady. Ryan, I will tell you, I will tell all of you, first of all, the idea of having spare CPUs for testing is an expensive thing to keep in inventory because they depreciate so quickly. And there's always a new one coming out.
Oh yeah, technology.
So I wouldn't have done this with my own money, but it's awesome to have them because many of you probably turn your nose up at a Celeron. Oh, it's a Celeron. But let me tell you, as a tech, these are the cheapest processors you can buy. And let's say you buy a motherboard, like I just had that H370 that I put the i9 9900K in. That only works if the latest BIOS is installed. So if you're running, and this is true on AMD too, if you're running a board and processor where the board needs an updated BIOS in order to recognize your processor, how can you update the BIOS unless you have a processor that's compatible? Well, these Celeron processors work in the highest end motherboards, even though the highest end chips do not work in the lowest end motherboards. So universally, these are what you want. You want a cheap CPU that you can pull out just to update a BIOS. The likelihood of seeing another bad CPU, that was the first one I saw in 29 years. I've never RMA'd a CPU before in 29 years, 28 years, 29, somewhere in there. So what Ryan has sent me isn't just the same CPU over and over. This is a socket 1155 Celeron. This is a socket 1150 Celeron. And these are two socket 1151s, which is a little redundant because one's a G3900, one's a G4900. But these will enable me primarily to do BIOS updates and secondarily for testing motherboards. And they're not expensive processors, but again, when I buy a pair of pliers or when I buy a tool for my job, I'm always weighing cost to benefit. How often am I going to use it? Now, if somebody had brought me some machines with Celerons that we were retiring, I would pull the chips, if the chips were good, and keep them on a shelf so that I could use them for this very purpose, but I wouldn't go and buy them. But I'm so glad that Ryan did because that's a brilliant idea. And to be honest, I never really thought about just buying some cheap Celerons. I just think about having some Core i3s, Core i5s. But no, Celerons are the cheapest ones you can buy. And of course, if 4 of them, it adds up. That's probably $150, $200 for the processors right there. It's a very generous contribution. And Ryan included a card. You ever see Office Space? Uh-huh. It's got like Bill Lumberg. Well, if you could, no, he says, yeah, if you would work on Christmas, that would be great.
Yeah.
Just boss casually walks up to you in your cubicle. Martin, if you just, he's got his coffee. If you could just show up on Christmas Day, that'd be great. All right, let's see well, there's money in here. Oh, it's $25 towards the channel, right on. Merry Christmas, Carey. Hope all of your holiday wishes come true. I hope you have the best of luck and success in 2020, Ryan. Ryan, thank you so much. I mean, such generosity.
Yeah,
I'm going to just keep all this together, and we'll put this away for right now. Anybody who contributes, I think they deserve a shout out. They deserve credit for, they deserve to be called out and acknowledged for their generosity because these contributions all help for me to get the things I need to produce videos and to produce them more often. Yeah. So again, I thank all of you, Ryan, Jay, Craig, and Ross, and numerous others who have submitted contributions through PayPal. I always respond to those and say thank you. If you haven't received yours, check your spam filter, or send me an email and tell me you never got it, because maybe every once in a while, sometimes the contribution slips through the cracks. So you should always get a thank you from me on those, just so you know.
It's amazing to have contributions that can help you, that you help other people. It's fabulous.
Ideally, that's the way I want it to work. I don't want to be, some big multi-million-dollar channel that's all about sponsorships and pushing products that, help me buy a bigger house or a nicer car. I'd rather that this was all community supported. I help you, you help me. That's all. And it doesn't even have to be an equal help. Sometimes it's just the gesture of the offer. That's all I'm looking for. There are days where I don't want to do this. There's days where I take I don't take a lot, but I take some hammering from trolls and people that just like to stir the pot because they find it amusing. And so there's days where I don't want to deal with it.
I can
But
imagine.
then when this stuff like this, I'm like, let's go. That's why I say it helps make me make more content because not only does it help me financially with what it costs to make the content, but it also helps my mental state where I'm like, these people are awesome. I want to go talk to my friends today and stop putting the focus on the trolls and put the focus on the positive, because there's far more positive than there are negative people on my channel. But the negative ones are the ones that they're like sticky, you know? They're
always
sticky.
looking for something wrong to
They
say.
stick.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
so
right, Jimmy.
I'll put these Celerons next to this Ryzen 9 3900 because that seems appropriate. All right, so what's the symptom here? Does this turn on, or does it you just hit the power button and nothing happens?
Flip the the power button, nothing happens, and that's how it ended up. And before this happened, it was flashing. The screen was flashing, and then all of a sudden it just went out, and then I put my hand around there by the power supply, and I could feel how hot it was.
Oh, it got really hot down here?
Yeah, it got hot.
Okay.
And that's what made me think it was probably the supply.
Now, you know, I use a lot of EVGA power supplies, and I'm kind of on the fence about whether to use Corsair or EVGA. I was using Corsairs for a while. And in fact, I just used a Corsair, this similar power supply, on a recent build. And I haven't had any of those high-end EVGA power supplies go out. And I'm a little disappointed that this Corsair 750 modular has died. Kind of makes me wish we had gone with EVGA, but maybe it would have happened. I don't know. Maybe it's the power coming in your house. Did you have any brownouts or any other like reset clocks or anything in your house when this happened?
Just the one time where APS, they sent out letters stating that
APS is one of the power companies,
Yeah.
power utilities here in Arizona Public Service.
anyhow, they had the power out, and the app power was out for a while, a couple hours, and it went back on again. That's the only thing. Everything was off. Made sure the TVs were even off, and let them do their thing, the power on, power off stuff.
How long after that did this happen? Weeks, months?
Months.
Oh, then it's not
months,
related. Okay.
Months, probably.
Let me
about
remind you, because there's people online that probably think I'm being rude. If you want something to drink, just speak up and I'll get you something.
Gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic? I've got that.
Oops. Tanqueray and tonic. Then.
I've got it.
Oh, jeez.
Pretty sure I've got it.
Okay, we'll just wait till later.
Let me, no, you don't have to get up. I just want to take the screwdriver out. I take the side panel off and see my handiwork. Everything here on this video is live, unscripted, and the diagnoses are real. So I want to make sure people understand that while I am trying to be entertaining, more importantly, I'm being educational. And unlike most other YouTube tech channels, I'm actually doing real work for a real customer that I hold accountability and responsibility and liability for. So it's not like it's just a fun little hobby for me. There's a little serious consequences if I don't do things right, if I don't do things on time. And I'm not saying that makes me better. I'm just differentiating how this channel is different from most other YouTube tech channels in the hopes that you will see value in that. So with that, let's get to work.
I could tell you the value right now is that something else went wrong. It wasn't what you did to it. Like, get things ready and...
What happened? It looks like we need to blow some dust out of here. Watch out for the dog.
Oh, yeah.
It's not too bad in there. But usually when there's a light dust, when I hit it with the leaf blower, big clouds come out. It's often worse than it looks.
It was been, I think I did it about a year ago.
You normally do it?
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
I take the filter out under it and get that clean, and
We'll give the audience a close-up of what this looks like here.
get it so the dust
This should be
particles will look.
This should be exactly the way it was delivered to you back about a little over 4 years ago.
Yeah.
How much RAM we got in there?
Let's see here.
32?
We got, yeah.
That was a lot back then. Spent some money on this.
And let me tell you, the thing has got a lot of memory in it, both the C drive and the...
I'm surprised we went with the stock fan on this. That must have been sort of towards the end of when I was doing it. You don't find this gets loud at all?
No.
No.
The only thing was this one here.
The rear case fan?
The rear case fan. It was...
That shouldn't be loud.
Well, put it this way. when you delivered it, it was the quietest thing in the house.
Yeah. And now?
Now it had a little bit of...
Really? We'll
Yeah.
check that out. I have lots of spare fans. And then there's a front fan too.
I don't think you got the front fan working. I don't think it's connected.
I usually do when there's a graphics card installed.
It might be,
Yeah, it's connected. I can see
Okay.
it connected right here.
because I don't...
Well, let's.
You know me, I'm just a computer user.
Well, you don't give yourself enough credit. What did you do for a living before you retired?
Manufacturing engineer in the aerospace industry, and
Yeah. So, and I'm the smart one between
and I
us?
was a electronic tech for Raytheon Computer in Santa Ana.
Back when it meant something.
Yeah. And then I was also worked at Autonetics.
I never heard of that. Is that a car thing?
Autonetics, it's a Rockwell now. But anyhow,
Is that
I was on
rockets?
the Minuteman II missile program,
Oh.
running a computer that ran tapes to check out certain boards, you know.
Keeping America safe?
You got it.
Or were you just selling those to our enemies? I mean, our allies. Whichever they happen to be today.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to go.
Don't go there.
through politics.
Yeah. No. It's just a joke. Oh, you got a DisplayPort monitor? Good for you. You're plugging in there?
Yeah, well, I think
You got a DisplayPort? What's your monitor? How big?
27-inch.
How long ago did you buy it?
Oh, probably about a month or so, a
Okay.
couple months after you.
Well, I mean, you didn't put any plugs back in here.
No.
right? So you're running off DisplayPort.
Yeah.
You think you're the only customer I have that does
What
that?
is this?
That's the little plug that covers the hole.
Oh,
See,
I
this was in the HDMI
like a
hole.
cap.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
little cap. Usually I put it up here on the motherboard so you don't plug in there and use the onboard video. And then you'll call me. You won't, but customers will call me and say, "Why is my video performance so bad?" Come to find out, they plug their monitor up here into the motherboard instead of down into
I
the.
plug it in here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
that's why I got a little red 5 there.
I gotcha. Red
Kinda
5.
neat.
That's Luke Skywalker's call signal. Never mind.
Okay.
I was nerding out there for a minute. I'm okay. I'm okay now. I think I got it out of my system.
Enjoy the moment, because I'll get there myself, so what the heck.
Do you like Star Wars? Not your thing?
Put it this way, I love the first 3 movies.
By the first three, you mean the original?
Yeah, the originals, back
4,
in...
5, and 6.
Yeah, you know, when
Well, they were
came
different.
out, they were backwards when they came...
Well, they weren't backwards. It started in the middle.
Yeah, or...
But they were a whole new way of looking at movies. A whole
Yeah.
new. We never saw special effects like that ever before. And then, of course, George Lucas came and did parts 1, 2, and 3, and they were all terrible. And now there's 7, 8, and 9. So I just saw 9 last night, and it's okay.
I think I can say something that used to be confidential that isn't confidential anymore, is that when I first saw Star Wars, that's when I was working in the Skunk Works at Lockheed. And of course it was the F-117 Nighthawk.
Oh,
And the body of that F-117 Nighthawk looked just like that big battleship in Star Wars when
yeah,
the
that big
movie
triangular
started. Yeah,
Imperial cruiser.
exactly.
So some people who don't know industry terms, can you tell them what Skunk Works means?
Skunk Works is the advanced development projects that Lockheed had. That's very...
Well, now wait a minute. Skunk Works is an industry. It's not just for Lockheed.
Yeah,
Amazon
no.
has a Skunk Works. Google has a Skunk Works.
Let's start out with Lockheed with, gosh, my mind's leaving me, so...
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but a Skunk Works is like a secret
Yeah, secret.
developmental project, which
Exactly.
may or may not actually be real. Right? It's research and development.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you an example.
Kelly Johnson's.
Who's Kelly Johnson?
He was the guy that developed the Skunk Works program.
So did
Area.
the
It's-
term Skunk Works start with them? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, it's all secret.
But they came up with the term?
Yeah.
So Amazon, when they were developing their Kindle ebook reader, Amazon has a Skunk Works company in Silicon Valley or something, in the Bay Area in California. And they're always working on secret projects. And so the Kindle was one of those secret projects.
Okay.
But there are other secret projects that never saw the light of day because they just,
Didn't work or something.
yeah, they just, for whatever reason, wasn't feasible.
Yeah.
So anyway, for those of you who don't know the industry terms, although most of my viewers are very much into this stuff, are you nervous? We got over 1,000 people watching right now. I just realized.
Hey, if there's 2,000, then I'll get nervous.
All right, well, tell your friends.
Then I'll ask for the Tangeray. But go ahead.
Just leave the bottle. I have the shaker right here. We're ready to go.
Don't shake. Just Tangeray on the rocks with a couple olives.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
A friend of mine got for Christmas, like the white elephant gift, they were given these stones. They're perfectly square. They're about yay big. And you put them in the freezer. Mm-hmm. So they are literally rocks you put in your drink, and they won't dilute your drink because they don't melt like an ice cube. So you can literally have Tangeray on the rocks. I'm saying they're rocks, and you keep them in the freezer, and you put them in your drink, and they don't add any flavor.
Keeps it cold?
Keeps it cold, and it doesn't dilute. It doesn't melt.
Uh-huh.
So it doesn't, dilute the alcohol. For me, I would like it the other way around. I need frozen cubes of alcohol in water, because I'm a lightweight when it comes to that stuff. It makes me shiver. It's too. I'm not drinking it for the taste.
This is what happens when you work on computers, right?
You start drinking? No, I luckily I've never been a fan. I will drink because of the social pressure at a party. It looks odd if you don't have something in your hands, but I will have that same drink all night. I'll just nurse it, sip.
Yeah.
And then if it's too strong, you might as well just drink a bottle of rubbing alcohol. It's disgusting. I don't know what people find so appealing about alcohol. I really don't. But be that as it may, I want to verify the customer's problem. That's the very first step in any diagnosis. You get off your feet.
It was my diagnosis, but
what do you think it is?
You're going to prove me right or prove me wrong.
You think it's a bad power supply?
I think it's a bad power supply.
And you're not just, this is a rocket scientist. You're a rocket scientist?
It was an educated guess.
Are you a rocket surgeon? Well, you worked in the aerospace industry.
Yeah. And also Raytheon computer and also function modules and
what,
everything.
You couldn't hold a job?
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. I worked here, I worked there.
I did digital to analog conversions, analog to digital conversions, you name it. Loved it, but now everything has changed. Everything is on a chip instead of made with a lot of discrete components. It's crazy.
And now they've got these components shrunk down to such a,
yep.
Big old circuit boards like this are now one little tiny chip.
Yeah,
you got to get a magnifying glass to see.
Making faster computers too.
Well, that's got to keep me in business. All right, we got a couple of contributions that came in from some viewers. Oh, a number of them. So before I verify the problem, let me give a quick shout out to these generous viewers. Jesse Kirk. Jesse's been a great friend of the show. He's just contributed $10. Chester Hughes has been contributing regularly, $2. Thanks, Chester. Rick Hubbard, £3. Michael Brooks, $10. Thank you, Michael. Michael B. contributed $5. He says, good afternoon, Carey and Martin. Love the channel.
You.
I'm going to start building computers for people in my area. Thank you for all the advice you give out. I think that's awesome, Michael. A. Reynolds contributes $5. Mike Britton, who is not British, but there's Britton Mike. Cool. But this is Mike Britton, who's contributed $5. He says, Merry Christmas to all of us down here in God's waiting room. So he's in Florida. It's God's waiting room, Florida. You get that?
He said down here?
He's in Florida.
Oh, in Florida, okay.
God's waiting room, where all the old people go to retire and die. Isn't that what they do?
Stay in Florida, don't come to Arizona.
Yeah, well, Arizona is the overflow waiting room.
Probably.
Thank you, Mike. Lab Tech Nick has contributed 100 Swedish kroner. He says, ho, 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 have a good one, Carey. Thanks for all your videos this year.
Wow.
You are the best, my friend. Oh, see, these people are amazing.
You go all over the world, don't you, with this?
Well, I don't actually leave the house, but I go all over the world every day. Heinrich Bo Anderson contributed 50 Danish kroner. He says, happy holidays and happy new year. Madi Yoel joins us from Florida. He's contributed $2, and he's been trying to reach me the last couple of days. It's been so busy. Madi, I will call you. I'm just really super busy. As we get closer to Christmas, everything just slams me. This is every year.
Yep.
I have technicians that call me, they go, Carey, what do you do around Christmas time when business gets slow? Like, my business does not get slow around Christmas. Never. So I don't know why these other people's business goes slow. Ben DeCur, another good friend of the channel. Well, they're all good friends of the channel, but Ben's been a regular here for a while, contributed $4.99. Thomas Robinson's contributed £2. And Red Dragon, who I think is one of the disabled American veterans we donated a computer to, if I'm not mistaken, if that's the same Red Dragon, has contributed $2 and hopefully is using the computer we sent to him to watch these videos.
Fabulous.
So thank you all so much for your contributions.
DAV,
and again,
yeah.
and Brendan Looney just contributed £2. And it's these contributions, these little contributions, big contributions, they all add up, and they keep me from having to come out here and hawk a product, you know?
Yep.
Say, you guys should buy this. And my dog is eating his toy, and I don't need a visit to the vet to have his stomach pumped. I'm sorry, boy, I have to take this from you.
Sorry, Jimmy.
You have 6 million toys. You want the squeaker? I'm sorry. He is not happy with me taking his toy.
That's okay. That's okay.
He disembowels his toys. And then there's little bits, and if the dogs swallow this stuff, it'll probably pass, but it might not.
Then it might not.
And they get a couple toys. This is going to look like a product sponsorship, but I promise this is just something I want to share with you.
Yeah, you're not
The
hot.
dogs get these bark box. I pay for the bark box, and they get 2 stuffed toys every month and 2 bags of treats. And I should contact BarkBox and see if they'll pay me, because I have no problem
Yeah.
selling their product because my dogs love it. But they sent me this card that I think anybody can use for a free BarkBox. I think if you copy these codes and you want to get a free BarkBox, I don't know outside of the USA if it's available, but these promo codes, I'm guessing, are probably the same promo code they sent to everybody, don't you think?
Probably.
I don't think they're unique. So they're offering a first BarkBox for free. Expires February 29th. Limit 1 per customer. And then it says Super Chewer. That's a heavier duty toy that's harder to rip apart. My dog is looking at me like I am just the worst person ever. You should see the look I'm getting.
You took it away.
You have
from
like
me.
all these toys. All these toys. Anyway, I buy bark boxes as gifts for my friends with dogs because it seems like they're more appreciative when you buy their dog something than if you buy them something. So anyway, there's a free bark box. And I'm not getting paid. There's no sponsorship here. I just think some of you who have dogs might be interested. You want to check it out. It's free. I want to be very clear on that. All right. But I'm not opposed if BarkBox wants to pay me, because I think it's a good service. Do you? You have a dog, right?
Yeah, I had a Clumber Spaniel before. We had him for about 12 years, and you'd get a toy with a squeaky in it. You give it to him, and it'll squeak, and he would have that squeaker out of that toy in about 30 seconds.
Speaking of which, I see a squeaker here on the floor.
I got this habit. I'm a laughing guy. I guess I can take things seriously and take things funny. I hear it.
So
Lyle hears it.
he's taking one of the.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Lyle. What do you think? See, there's one of the
He
legs.
says it's not food.
Yeah, Lyle's only interested if it's food. Jimmy, on the other hand. Good boys, good boys. All right, so I got distracted from doing our test fire. Michael Ryder just contributed $2 Canadian. He says, Carey, you are the Sultan of SSDs. Awesome channel. Thank you, Michael. Mitch N has contributed $2. He says, let your dogs build a computer. Man, if my dogs could build a computer, I'll sleep on the couch all day and bark at the mailman.
Why not?
I was going to say something. I
What
don't
did it start
remember.
with? I hate that when it happens. You're catching up with me.
Who are you again? So here's what we're going to do. Always when a customer brings you a system, you ask the customer, if you're going to help somebody, your friend, your family member, what is the problem? And they'll say, I don't know, that's why I'm bringing it to you. No, tell me what you're experiencing. What is the computer doing differently than what you expect it to be doing? And then ask them when the problem started. How long has this problem been going on? Did you do anything Did you change anything before the problem that you can think of? And typically they always say no, even when they have. Not that you did, but that's very common. And then the third thing would be to open the computer and visually inspect it before you power it on, just to make sure there's nothing obviously wrong here. Like if you see burn marks on the motherboard, you might want to be a little more cautious before you plug it in. Make sure everything's fully seated, nothing looks obvious. Then, only plug in the bare necessities, which is a keyboard, mouse, power, and a monitor. Now, we don't have a monitor here, so I need to borrow your monitor. We've got 1,181 monitors we're about to hook this up to.
Oh, fabulous.
How cool is that?
Somebody will let us know.
Right? Well, we'll see it. We'll see it. But basically, we're going to use their monitors. Now, they shouldn't see anything, right? Because you're telling me if I turn this on, it's just going to be dead.
Dead.
No power, no
None.
fans, no lights, nothing.
No lights, not even the light in the on-off switch.
Now, here's the best case scenario. When a customer brings you a computer and you can replicate the problem every time, that's an easy problem to fix no matter what the problem is. When a customer says it only happens sometimes, those are nightmares to fix. And that's true of like going to your doctor and saying, well, sometimes my back hurts. That's hard to fix, anything that only happens sometimes, because you have no way to test it. You just sort of have to do your best and then start using it, whatever it happens to be, your computer, your back. And if the problem doesn't come back, apparently you solved it. So it can be very time consuming and sometimes very, requires a lot of patience, a lot of tolerance to stick with those intermittent type of problems. So because this is not intermittent, this is a repair technician's dream to have a reproducible problem that's consistent.
Yep.
All right.
I agree.
Now that I've gotten all that out, let's hit the power switch. So we're in the on position now on the power supply. And then I'm going to put you over on camera 2, guys. So camera 2, it's going to say no signal on it here. And we'll put me and you up here in the corner. How's that? So we'll stay up here. And now I'm going to turn the machine on.
You don't even see a light, do you?
We are plugged in, right?
Yeah.
So it's
You plug
flat.
in here,
This
too.
thing is dead. Yeah, we're good. Nothing is happening.
Yeah.
Now, so I guess I don't have to keep it on camera 2 anymore, so we'll go back full screen here. That was super easy to replicate. When you have a computer that is, so we can define the computer is dead, meaning that Windows doesn't start. It's dead. But in this case, it is truly without a heartbeat, which saddens me because each one of these are my babies I build. You know, this is, even though it's yours, there's probably some of my blood in there.
With all the computers I've had in my life, this is the one with the power supply that never had any problems with it before, especially the ones that you built for me.
You're saying you've never had a power supply problem before?
No.
First time for everything.
Yeah.
So this is the Corsair CX750M. Now the CX line is sort of the cheaper line of Corsair, but on the cheaper line, it's on the high end because it's modular. Now in a perfect world, I would have another CX750M and we would just pull your modular cables, take the 4 screws out, pop another power supply in, plug the cables back in, and bye, if it's the power supply. Now, when you have a computer that's completely flat like this, first thing you want to make sure is that the outlet you're plugging into isn't dead. So plug something else into that outlet, like a lamp. Make sure the lamp comes on so you know there's power coming out of it. So in this case, I know that's a good outlet. This is a known environment. We've taken it out of his environment. That's the other thing. Sometimes customers plug items into their computers and the item they plugged in is causing a short circuit. And they say, my computer's dead, and I either pick it up and bring it back to my office or my home, or the customer, as in this case, brings it to me. And then when we turn it on, it works fine. And they go, well, it didn't work. Like the customer's like, I promise you I wasn't lying. And I'm like, I know you didn't. I know you weren't lonely and wanted some company. But what can happen is, say your printer goes bad or some USB device, it is possible that that's preventing the computer from booting. So before you call anybody for help, unplug everything from the back of the computer except what you need to boot. So I'm going to reiterate, that's 3 plugs. That's the monitor, the power, and a keyboard and mouse. Okay, so I guess technically it's 4 things. And you really don't even need the keyboard and mouse if we just want to see it boot.
4.
Unplug the internet, unplug flash drives, unplug printers, unplug anything that's not absolutely required. And if the machine boots, then start plugging those things in one at a time when the machine is off until the machine stops booting and you have diagnosed your problem. In this case, it's clearly representing the exact same problem here on the bench with my power and my cables and my keyboard, because even a bad keyboard or mouse can cause this. Very similar symptom. So we know that there's no power delivery. There is no supply of power. So what's the first thing you would think of if I'm not getting any power being supplied to the board? It's probably the power supply is the first place you should look. It's also possible we could have a bad power on switch. But you said your screen was flickering and it didn't just one day stop working. It kind of showed you symptoms.
Yeah, it went through a cycle. Yeah.
You saw it dying.
Yeah.
Okay, so with electronics, if you're lucky, they'll exhibit some dying behavior. Most of the time, they just work one day, and then the next day, without any warning, without any clue, they just don't work anymore, which is why we emphasize the importance of making those backups. I know you make backups, right?
Oh, yeah. Got everything backed up.
I still can't convince you for something to drink yet? Water or
Go
Coke?
ahead. No, I'm fine, thank you. I'm doing good.
Okay, I'm gonna grab a spare power supply. So for
Okay.
this test, I'm not actually going to install the power supply.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
So
one.
back in your day, way back in your
Way back,
make
yeah.
you sound old.
Before you were born. Go ahead.
Before I was born and the world was yours, it's mine now.
Yeah.
You would diagnose components.
Yes.
Okay. So today, the cost of labor is more expensive in most cases than the parts or the cost to replace the entire part. I even saw Jay Leno talking about this where he bought a brand new car and it was having problems shifting. And he was complaining how they don't fix anything anymore. They just drop the transmission, put a new transmission in, hit him in and out in an hour. And he's like, nobody fixes anything. The reason I bring this up is there are people that say, what's a good power supply tester? Well, the problem is a good power supply tester will run you several $100s. And it's got to put a load onto the power supply. It's not enough that the power supply is on. It's just like a car battery. You can open the car door and the dome light and the radio will come on. But when you go to start the car, it's not enough juice. It doesn't have enough amperage. So to test a power supply properly, the most cost-efficient and fastest way isn't to grab an oscilloscope and to start testing power outputs at different load levels. Just because you can doesn't mean that it's efficient or optimal. Some people, they go, well, you don't fix things. You're just swapping parts. So therefore, you're not really fixing anything. So I deal with some of these people on the internet. Now, I understand that people are watching us around the world, and there are different economies. In the economy of America, labor costs a lot more than most parts. Now, some things are worth fixing. Some very expensive things like iPhones or, you know what I'm saying? Like, you've got a lot of money into that compared to what the labor is. Like the latest iPhone, let's say an iPhone 11 or even a Galaxy S10, $1,000 phones. So if it's a couple $100 to fix it, that makes sense. But if the phone is only a couple $100, it doesn't make sense. Because furthermore, after it gets fixed, what if it's not fixed right? You might be bringing that phone back again and again. It's a headache. So there are some judgy people who think, well, you're not, it's sort of implying a lack of skill. But the skill for me is to keep my business operating, not to try and impress people with my soldering skills. And by the way, I haven't soldered in years. I I don't know if I have the patience for it anymore, but did you do any soldering?
Oh, I've done tons of soldering.
Yeah?
Ah,
You burn your hands a little bit?
I just thought it was part of the problem.
Yeah. It's part of the process, yeah.
Their process.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I don't want people to be swayed, by the people who are shouting from the peanut gallery about that. This is the proper way. And again, I can't speak for other economies, but here in America, it's all about getting it done quickly. And also, when we swap the part, he's going to have if it is a part that we're going to swap, he'll have a new warranty, and it's not likely to be, not fixed the first time. Sometimes repairs, you don't really know everything that's wrong. I'm sure you've had that experience where you spend some time fixing something, and then it immediately breaks again. Like there was some other bad part somewhere in the circuit that was sort of on the fence, and it passed testing, and then when you went to use it, and then you're back at it again.
Oh yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. This is just an EVGA 500 bronze power supply. If this works to turn the system on, this power supply has a 5-year warranty, which we are probably 11 months left in it.
Yeah, 11 months around there.
If this is a bad power supply, then what I will do, because we can do two things, and we already talked about this off camera, but we'll repeat this conversation for their benefit. If I could send you home today with this power supply, you have a working system right away. Or, and again, if it's the power supply, you leave the system with me. I'll make arrangements to get an RMA number from Corsair, and I will box it and ship it back to them. They will ship me the replacement unit, and then I don't have to recable anything. I just take the modular cables. You got 3 modular cables I unplug and 4 screws. And then when the new one comes in, I pop it back in, plug it in, and then you're only going to have a couple 10 months left on your warranty.
But that one there is not modular, is it?
No, this is not a modular.
Yeah.
I do have a modular.
But I was surprised. I didn't look to see if it was modular or not, but I'm glad that you
Well, that's what the M
kind.
is for, right? It says CX750M.
Uh-huh.
The M stands for modular.
Modular.
So if you see
Cool.
an M in the product name, not always, but most of the time on a power supply, it
Yeah.
usually means
At
it's
least
modular.
you don't have to.
I mean, I do have a 1,000-watt modular power supply. It's way more than you need. We can get another Corsair 750. We know that the cables will be compatible and you have a brand new warranty. Or we send this in. Probably a new one of these is about $90, I'm going to guess.
I don't remember.
Right around $100. Sending it in will probably cost about $20 because of the weight. And then again, so for the $100, you have a new 5-year warranty. If we do the warranty replacement, then you'll have 10 months. But if the replacement lasts another 5 years.
Oh, I'd be updating the computer in another 5 years. So update the computer and
So what path do you? So if it is the power supply, which I think the reason I'm talking is I'm pretty darn sure we got a power supply problem.
Yeah.
Only because of the symptoms you mentioned. Would you prefer that I send you home with a working computer today, or would you prefer that you leave it here? We're gonna have to wait till a couple days, because of the Christmas. But I will get the RMA number and ship it, and then I will have to call you in it'll probably take about 2 weeks.
That's fine. I've got a laptop that handles
So
everything.
you're using the laptop now. So you're not in a hurry for this?
No, no big hurry, no.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. Again, I'm doing this on camera so you guys can see the dialogue between the tech and the customer to set expectations. When customers get upset, it's always the person doing the work, it's their fault. The person doing the work failed to either set the customer's expectations before agreeing to do the work, or they failed to meet the expectations that they themselves met. Like if I tell Martin, I'm gonna send this to Corsair and it should take about 2 weeks, and 6 weeks later, Martin's like, you've had my computer a month and a half because I haven't gotten off my butt to go down to the post office. I'll do it tomorrow. That's where you're gonna start having an upset customer. So it's super easy to have good customer service. You set your customer's expectations and the customer agrees before you do any work, and then you meet or exceed those expectations. And as long as you do those, you set those expectations before you get work. Everybody knows this is the worst case scenario. I want you to know, good probably 2 weeks. In likelihood, it'll be more like 10 days, but I'm going to tell you 2 weeks. So I cushion it, so I have a little wiggle room, and if he's okay with that, then ideally it'll be done even earlier than that. And customers never complain it was done too quickly. Like, can you hold on to it another couple weeks? Unless they're on vacation or something.
Well, when you built the computer, you made this computer too damn fast.
I made it too fast? How about now? It's been a couple years.
It still works fast.
It's still too fast?
No.
It's not too fast anymore?
I got used to it.
Oh, you know what? I got to show you something. Before we test this, I want to show you something because you, being a technical person, can appreciate. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. So Intel has their high-end consumer CPUs that they charge a bundle for. And apparently, to make you feel like you're getting more for your money, instead of putting it, before we open that up, just to give you a point of comparison. This is the typical box that an Intel CPU comes in, right? There's no, on the K processors, there's no cooling fan. It's just the chip, which you can see through that hole. Okay, this is an i7 9700K box. This, when you spend $200 more, you get this microfiber bag that has the Intel logo on it.
Gosh.
And I don't know what you're supposed to do with it. And then you have this weird cubey thing. Now this is a special edition Core i9. This runs at 5 gigahertz across all the cores.
Oh my goodness.
This sells, so the tray price is $513 a piece. What a tray is, I wish I had one to show. When you're like Dell, if you're a big computer and you're not going to order it, it's too much trash and it's too much expense. You're going to order a tray. I can't remember how many are in a tray. So there's less packing, and all it is CPUs in a big plastic tray. You take them out.
It's like buying eggs. Instead of buying one egg, you
Yeah. It's exactly like that. It's like in a little plastic holder.
Yeah.
And so it's cheaper because you're not paying for all of this.
Yeah.
So $513 each in a tray, but you have to buy a minimum. Like, let's say if a bunch of viewers said, hey, let's all go in together, we would need about $10,000, I think, for a tray. 500, depends how many in a tray. If there's 10 in a tray, that'll be $5,130.
But it would be a big discount.
But yes, so ask me how much this was. This $513 a piece tray price in this packaging, and you can see the little box inside.
I see it, yeah.
Right? That's actually all we need. There's a little box in there. That's all they had to ship it in, by the way. They didn't need all this. How much is this processor? How much do you think this costs?
I have no idea.
Well, you know it's $513 on a tray. This is $629 if you can find it that cheap. And this is limited edition. That's only going to be available for a couple of months. It's not that special, other than not everybody's going to have one, so you have that exclusivity, like I have something you don't have, and you can't get it. And the price on this processor will go up. Like right now it's available from $800 to $1,000.
Oh my gosh.
So people can buy this as an investment. You could buy one of these with no intention of using it, hold on to it until they go out of stock, and then put it up on eBay. And if somebody wants one bad enough, it's a supply and demand issue.
Yeah.
And again, not that it's the best processor you can buy for the money. It's just a marketing gimmick to increase the perception of value, because they've made so few of them. If, like I said, if you want something not everybody else is going to have, you're going to pay quite a bit more. This processor, the i7 9700K, isn't that far different in performance from an i9 9900K.
And this packaging probably costs all of, what, 15 cents?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, and then what do you do with this octagonal cube when you're done? This just goes in a landfill somewhere plastic takes a long
Put it
time.
on a shelf with a light beaming on it, just so you can say,
Yeah, but
look
what
what
if
I have.
What if you're a builder like me and you get like 6 or 7 of these? I feel bad throwing them away. I started to give them to my nephew, because he's a teenager and it's kind of cool. But I'm starting to get, like, even he's like, okay, I have enough now. But anyway, I thought you could really appreciate the nonsense marketing
Oh, yes.
And AMD does this with their Threadripper, and that I think that's why Intel does it. It's like, well, if you're going to spend $1,000 on a chip, let's add $50 to the packaging to make it feel like you really
Why
got
not?
something for
Yeah.
your money. Even though once that chip is installed in a motherboard, you'll never need the packaging ever again. You know, when you get a loaf of bread, Martin, when you buy a loaf of bread and you open the packaging and you eat some bread, you can keep the rest of the bread in the packaging. You know, you don't just throw it away. So there's no sense in having reusable packaging or special packaging because you're never going to use it again.
Exactly.
It's a one-time, it's
Well,
just,
like you say, it's for people, like you say, that
it's all about perception.
save it, and I got something you don't have, and this is what I'm going to price I'm going to put on it.
But again,
Or
like
not
it's,
price, but a value.
if I could afford to buy a tray of those,
Yeah.
and assuming there's, again, somebody might be able to tell me how many are in a tray, but if you could buy a tray of those, you'd save $110 on each one.
Wow.
So on 10 of those, that's over $1,000 in savings, and you're not contributing to the landfill, and it's a pain in the butt to open that. The tray is super easy to open, you know, it's just a chip. All right, I think I got that off my chest now. It's like when I guess I'm not done. The Intel Nook, when I unboxed it, you ever get like those birthday cards and you open it and play music?
Yes.
So Intel did that with the Intel Nook. When you open the box, it played the Intel logo theme, that doom, 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 doom. What am I going to do with that box after I've removed the product from the box? What is the point of making it play that tune every time the box is opened? It just added unnecessary expense to the packaging, which the consumer has to pay for.
Exactly.
And I saved the box just so I could take it out and show people. And I guess the little battery died, it won't work anymore.
Well,
But the
like
Nook works.
you used the word value, and value is not the same as a price. And you can see that on advertisements over the TV. And it's a value of so much, but that's somebody else's
It's
opinion.
a $100 value today for $30.
It's somebody else's opinion, you know.
Right. Who decides the value?
Yeah.
They do. Although some people say Bitcoin has no value. As long as people believe it has value, as long as we all agree it has value, it has value. But it's not like gold or diamonds or something where although I suppose even then we're still agreeing.
Yeah.
But-
Agreeing, but differently.
Yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
off track. All right, so let's finally get this done here. So I'm gonna pull the main 24-pin power cable off the motherboard and the 8-pin CPU cable, what we call EPS power. Oh, that one goes vertical, that's interesting. Ooh, that's a tight cable. I put cable management on that real tight. All right. All I have to do is hook those two cables up. That's the 24-pin and the 8-pin. None of these other cables. What do we got for a solid state drive? You got a 2.5-inch. You don't have M.2. Oh,
No.
but you could if you wanted it. You have a slot here for an M.2 drive. This is an H170 chipset, Martin, so you could go 5 times faster than the drive you've got if you find this isn't fast enough. Just saying. That little upgrade. I mean, it's going to be,
That's
like booting
amazing.
isn't going to be any faster, but if you're loading big files, if you're doing like photo editing or video editing or things that require a lot of hard drive access, you'll notice a performance difference. If all you're doing is browsing the web and email, you probably should save your money because the benchmarks look great, but the reality is you won't probably notice it. But just so you know.
That's nice to know. I never knew that.
Have you seen the M.2 drives? Have you ever seen one?
Oh, I've seen you put them in.
Yeah, they look like a little stick
Hey,
of gum.
Yeah, and you also made flash drives out of them too.
Yes, in
Oh,
fact, I've got a couple of those here. These are the,
Yeah.
I put a couple of 500 gig. I've got a couple of these. I have to label it. USB, plug it in. And the reason I like it is if I'm going to do like an Acronis image of a machine before I work on it, this will just happen faster than on like I was using these external, like Western Digital Passport or Seagate Elements. They're little laptop hard drives, and they're fantastic. They're very inexpensive. 2 terabytes, about $60. But it takes a while, you know. So these just go faster, and most customer data I back up, they typically don't have 500 gigabytes, though I could put a 2 terabyte SATA drive in here. And then they make different ones for NVMe, non-volatile memory express. And I've got videos, and if you want to learn more about what I'm talking about, just look at my other videos where I talk about USB to M.2 or USB to SATA, USB to NVMe. There's a bunch of videos where I demonstrate those products and how they work and evaluate them.
And when you do it the way you do it, it costs less.
It's a lot cheaper.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot cheaper, and it's upgradable. So unlike a flash drive, like if this flash drive dies on me, that's 256 gigs.
Bye-bye.
I can't open it and fix it.
No, you can't.
So there's always other copies of what's on here. But this is really skinny compared to this. So this is easier to get in tight places on the back of some computers. But you can always get a little extension cable, you know, if you need to.
Yes.
So that's the only downside is the physical size. But then the capacity of this, like I say, this is 500 gigs, pretty much costs the same. This is a SanDisk Extreme Pro super fast little flash drive, but this is faster.
And what size is that one?
This is 256 gigs.
Oh, 256.
And this is 500 gigs.
Okay.
This is $72, and this is probably about
60.
$70, $70 or $80. So I have twice the capacity, and this actually is faster than this. But this is a little easier for the pocket, right? And sometimes when you're working on the back of a computer, this is too big to get it, you know, if you have other things plugged in.
Now, what USB is that, 3 or 2?
These will all be USB 3 or 3.1.
Okay.
And then I have an NVMe enclosure because NVMe is like a form of M.2 that's much faster.
I hate diverting, but 3.1 means it's, what, 10 times faster
Then what?
than 3.0?
No.
No? Oh.
I think it's, you know what, I have the specifications for USB.
Uh-oh, I did it.
Let's pull up the specs.
Because I was always wondering about...
Oh, it's in here somewhere. Here we are. We can compare USB to Thunderbolt. Let's make that bigger. So at the bottom left, there's USB 2.0 at 480 megabits per second.
Jeez. Yeah.
USB 3 is 5 gigabits per second. 3.1 doubles it to 10.
10, okay.
But then Thunderbolt 2 and Thunderbolt 3
Wow.
double again from 20 into 40. Now there's a USB 3.2, and the standards for USB 4 have already been ratified. And they should be right up there with Thunderbolt 3, and then eventually.
Technology.
So the NVMe drives, the NVMe M.2 drives, doesn't make any sense to plug them into USB 3 because they're going to run no faster, but they cost a lot more than regular SATA. So this company makes one that plugs into Thunderbolt 3, so you can get that 40 gigabits per second. And imagine if your system has Thunderbolt 3, how much faster it is to do an Acronis image of your entire hard drive.
Yeah.
At 40, it'll be 4 times faster than USB 3.1.
Yeah, the processing speed, yep.
Right? So if you've got a lot of data to back up, or you've got a number of systems, like in my case, I may not be dealing with a lot of data on one system, but I may be dealing with a lot of data on, let's say, 10 systems, right? So anyway, time is money, and that's why stuff like that's important to me. Go, 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 fast, fast, fast. Everybody's waiting with bated breath what's going to happen here. So I've already plugged in the 2 cables. That's all we need. I'm not installing the power supply because it may not be a bad. I don't want to go through all the work if it's not the power supply. So we'll test it outside of the case. Switch on the power supply is off. And then we'll go back over to camera 2. And we'll put ourselves in the corner again. Here we are.
Just like being in grade school.
Here in the corner.
Yeah.
And before we do the honors, a couple of contributions have come in. Pat DeMarco has contributed $2 and says, I want to wish my husband Pat a happy 60th birthday. Well, happy birthday, Pat. Hey, in the chat room, say happy birthday to Pat. Give Pat a shout out,
Happy birthday
man.
to you.
Thank you for the contribution, of course. And then there were a couple other contributions I missed. Let me get those acknowledged. David Griswold. Oh, he's the Griswolds. He's never heard that before.
Oh, the Griswolds.
There's a family truckster joke in there. We tease because we love. David's contributed $10. He says, hello, Carey. Merry Christmas to you and everyone. Lurchicus also contributed $10 and said, happy holidays, Carey. This is for your cola fund. Keeps me in Coca-Cola. Joseph Panariello has contributed $2. Cog Gin has contributed £5. And he says, I received my case badge sticker, and I think my CPU speed just tripled.
Does it look like this? Sticker?
Yeah, there's one on the front of yours. That's why this computer runs so fast. It's got they go faster.
So.
Did you guys put those on airplanes to make them go faster? Stickers? Flames?
Well, I tried to have them do it, but they didn't want to listen to me.
What do they know?
Exactly.
Management doesn't understand engineering. And I think that catches us up with those. Oh, and Steve Shaw just contributed £5. He says, hi, Carey. I've been a break fix tech for 20 years. Which one do you do, the break or the fix? No, I'm teasing. He says, I want to do MSP, which is managed service providing. Basically, what that means is you maintain the entire computer infrastructure for a company, their antivirus, their updates, their backups. You manage all their services, not just one thing. Or better yet, you don't wait for them to call you when there's a problem. That you're just going in there and doing maintenance to avoid having problems. It's a good way to have a regular income and to reduce the stress on a business owner who gets inconvenienced with downtime that could have been avoided. Anyway, he says, I'm not sure the best way to quote clients. How do I approach quoting my clients for managed services? You know, there's no real set way on this. Some people have a fixed rate per PC. Typically, I don't take on a customer as an MSP right away. We'll go on an hourly basis, and I'll get a feel for how often they call and what kind of problems I'm going to have to fix. And after a couple of months of that, like I don't even make offering MSP an option on a new client. And we don't even bring it up in discussion. I don't. And I get a feel for, you know, is this a client that's going to call me a lot, or is this a client that's going to call me, you know, once in a while? Based on how often the client or their employees call and what I anticipate what calls are going to come in, I will then quote a price. So that's the way I do it. There's no set number on that. There's a great website called Tech Nibble, and it's all about answering questions like this and how to market and pricing. And they're based in Australia, and I want you to keep in mind that where you live, not only the country, but even the city you live in, will have a different pricing structure than, let's say, perhaps any other city or municipality, let alone another country. So how I do it, look, if you lived in New York City, the cost of rent is high, it's difficult to get places, there's a lot of traffic, so you're going to charge more. It costs more to live there. If you live in a little town in rural America, the cost of living is less. There's going to be toll roads you've got to pay or pay for parking, so your rate will be equivalent to the cost of living of the areas that you're servicing. So that's the idea. Thank you for the contribution. Louis67 has contributed $2 Canadian and says happy birthday to Pat. Look at all these happy birthdays coming in. Why don't you guys give me a shout out? Let me know, where are you watching me from? Where are you located? Like, don't give me your street address. Just tell me what country or what state are you in, and go ahead and put that in the chat if you would. We've got 1,584 people watching, which is a fantastic turnout. Thanks, you guys, for joining me. And here we go. We're going to see if this power supply. You're like, would you just shut up and turn it on already? You want to do the honors?
Go ahead. I'm gonna be on here.
I'm going to flip the switch on. Okay, no sparks came out.
No.
And if you want to hit the power button, I know you've done that before.
Ready?
You did last time you did this, you broke it.
Well, nada.
And this is why I didn't pull the power supply out and swap it. This is exactly why. Switch is in the on position. We have the two main power connectors we need to get it fired up. Oh, it just came on. What did you do differently? Let's see if it'll boot. So the fans are turning, the lights are on. Look, we got people watching us in the Czech Republic, Macedonia, Liverpool, Idaho, Maryland, California, Melbourne, Australia, Denmark, Alabama, Spokane, Washington, Deutschland.
Boy, I never traveled this fast before.
Look at this.
Jeez.
Aberdeen, Scotland, Indiana, Romania, Wisconsin, Slovenia, Belgrade. Martin, your system is not, so here's the situation. The system is running. I see the front and rear case fans are turning. I don't hear any hum. They sound very quiet. Even your CPU fan is dead quiet. And the lights on the board are on, but the system is not booting.
This is the first time I've seen the light come on here.
Yeah, so the power light is on the front of the 200R. All right, so we got to think about this for a minute. In the past, you know what, let me go full screen here because we don't need to see a big no signal. Let's go back full screen on camera 1. Here we go. Okay. I've done a video, like my most viewed video is at 2.2 million views, and it's called How to Fix a Dead Computer. And I go through this, oh, I turned the wrong power supply up. There. I go through, I flipped that one.
Sorry.
I made this video to show the diagnostic thought process.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that say, the last thing you checked is the first thing you should have checked.
Who knows?
Well, it's not that they're wrong, but if I immediately go to what I think the problem is, there's not a whole lot there for me to teach you as far as the diagnostic process, right?
I see what you're saying, yeah.
So I intentionally went kind of the long way around, although I didn't know the problem. But if I was actually being paid by a customer to fix it, the last thing I checked probably would have been the first thing I checked. But people don't understand. I'm trying to educate people. And if I immediately go to the fix, then I have to make a different fix video every time. So I wanted to show the logic of eliminating the what do you call that? That sounds like 25 miles an hour, doesn't it?
I was going to say, it was pretty close to 28.
28? So anyway, it's just interesting to me how many people didn't understand the point of the video. Now, we're not going to do that today. I'm going to check the very first thing that was the last thing on the other one. When you have a system where the power supply turns on, and I want to reiterate, that doesn't mean your power supply is good. It could still be delivering power, but not enough amperage. So even if you put it on a voltmeter and take your time and test it, you may be getting the 12 volts, the 5 volts, the 3 volts, and you go, oh, my power supply is good. No, the only truly simple, cost-effective way you know if your power supply is good or not is to quickly slap another power supply onto the board itself and test it. I don't care if the hard drive's not getting power or I don't care about that. I just want to see the motherboard post. Now, since this power supply was basically doing the same thing the other one was, which is we got nothing at first. You were hitting the power button, nothing happened. Yeah. I did it, for whatever reason it came on, but then nothing happened. The lights came on, the fans are turning, the motherboard lit up, but nothing initialized. So the first thing I would check is the RAM.
Oh, yeah.
And because you have a lot of it, like if you only had 2 sticks of RAM in there, you'd only have 2 sticks of RAM that can go bad. But you've got 4 sticks of RAM.
Oh boy.
So you have potentially 4 sticks of RAM that can go bad. So that being said, I'm going to leave this all plugged in just the way it is with the switch in the off position. And I'm going to pull out 2 RAM modules.
Because they're in pairs, right?
Yes, they're in pairs. And it'll work with just one, but I want to narrow this down to a 50-50. I want to see if this makes any difference at all. So there's one. This is Corsair Vengeance. I don't know what speed it is. I can't read it.
Here.
Are these readers?
No.
Oh.
They are prescription.
What's bad is when I reach for them and I can't see them. All right, so anyway, so we're taking 2 of the RAM sticks out, and we're going to turn this back on again and see if it makes any changes in behavior. If it does, then we know one of those 2 is bad. If it doesn't, then we'll put those 2 back in, and we'll trade out these 2. And we could have a bad socket, but that's not likely because you haven't been swapping anything in or out. It's pretty much stayed with the cover on apart from blowing the dust out of it, right?
And the only time it's ever been put in was when you built it.
Okay, so power supply back on. Put the audience back to, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I don't see the fan moving yet.
Well, I haven't turned anything on yet. I mean, I just put power on the power supply.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to go over here back to camera 2. Put us right there.
Okay.
Let's try again. Fans are turning on. Lights are lighting up. Everything is the same so far. Oh, sorry. You know what? I screwed up. In the chat room, Dr. No says, no, it was LightJack05. He says you didn't. Oh, and everybody's pointing out I haven't plugged any power onto the graphics card. I just screwed up the test. The machine, shame on me. Your graphics card requires power.
Okay.
So because we're not using this power supply, I have to, so we may have had a bad power supply this whole time.
I see.
Thank you, guys. I was only 1,600 people watching. I just did that in front of. I'm sure that'll be fine.
Add one more, me.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
And you're the important one.
I have never.
Well, I mean, it's obvious. The video card needs to have power.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll boot up this. Ooh. It's like that card wasn't plugged all the way in. Did you hear that click?
Yeah.
Okay. One more time, guys. Flip the switch on. Power. Now EVGA lights up on the graphics card. That's going to help a lot. Oh, look at Martin. Look.
There it is. Gigabyte. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to let it boot. I'm going to shut off before it boots because we don't have power to the solid state drive yet.
All right.
I'm going to put these RAM modules back in.
And the final test is see what happens if the power supply in the computer, like you said, it might have been a not permanent seat with the card. You know what I'm saying?
No, that shouldn't have. Well, it's possible,
You know what I mean?
but I
And then it
still
just,
think we have a bad power supply here. But
well, yeah.
we'll verify it here in a minute. Let me put these RAM modules back where they were. And again, another reason for not removing 3 is I would be putting 3 back in instead of 2. I don't want to say I'm lazy. I just want to be efficient.
Well, you started doing it the way you know.
Yeah. And thank you guys for the sharp eyes for pointing that out, that I didn't plug the graphics card in. That's not the first time I've done that. There was another video series I did that wasn't live, and I was testing the machine. I was working so quickly that in some of the tests I forgot to plug the graphics card in. Although at the end of the day it turned out I figured it out. It's embarrassing. But it's when you do it, you probably won't have 15 or 1,600 people watching you.
Can I say a joke? And I don't want it to be off color. It's people make mistakes,
Yeah.
and mistakes make people.
If it wasn't for mistakes, you and I wouldn't be here. All right, let's try this one more time. Let's see if hopefully we get a power on.
Yeah.
We get a
We'll
post
see.
screen here in a moment. Let's hope. Anytime now, something should happen. Oh, well.
Ah,
This is interesting, isn't it?
yeah. Hello, memory stick. Oh, there it went.
Patience, I guess, huh? Let's go into the BIOS. If I hit that in time. I wonder if there's a BIOS update for this motherboard. You're only on version F3 of the BIOS.
Probably there is a new one.
I bet you there's a new one too. Let's take a look.
Because
This is a,
After 4 years?
well, this is a GA H170 D3HP. So I'll just go to Google and type in H170 space D3HP. And the first link
Boy,
to Google, oh, wrong
you're-
keyboard.
Yours works like mine.
Typing in the wrong keyboard.
I do the same thing.
Got to go to this keyboard. No, I don't. I was on the right keyboard. Why isn't it working? Keyboard switch was off. One more time.
That's why I said it. I do the same thing.
H170. D3. I got a problem. I just don't like giving power to things.
The safe way.
So I'm going to go to the Gigabyte website, and I'm going to click on the support link for this motherboard, and I'm going to look to see what the latest BIOS is. So the latest BIOS available for this machine is F20G, from F3 to F20. So the F3 BIOS was dated October 22nd of 2015, and we built this in November. So that was a brand new BIOS. There wasn't a new BIOS for about 6 months. Then F4 came out. And what these are doing, like F4 is improving the XMP compatibility with DDR RAM, which I'm sure we didn't even turn on here. Then F20C updates the CPU microcode to fix a hyperthreading flaw issue. It started to support 7th generation CPUs and SBA. And then there's a F20D, which updates the Intel management engine for security reasons. And then F20G upgrades the CPU microcode. That's usually for like more CPU compatibility. So what I'm going to do is download that BIOS, and I'm going to extract it to this flash drive I have right here. And I'm doing this on the streaming computer, which is why people can't see what I'm doing. So I have to describe it to them. And I'm going to extract the BIOS file. Now, there may not be any benefit for you to have this BIOS, except that maybe you call me one day and say, I want to upgrade my CPU. Can I do that without changing everything out? Well, if we update the BIOS now, then it's a problem later we don't have to deal with regards to CPU compatibility.
Yes.
So I just prefer to get it done now. And if I look at the BIOS file, I just need to extract the file that ends with a, there's 3 files. There's an autoexec.bat, there's a flashing file, and then there's the actual firmware, which ends with the .20G, which is the model of the version.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm just going to copy that .20G file. And again, that extension will change depending on what version you're using. And I've plugged the wrong flash drive in. I have a flash drive I use strictly for BIOS flashing. And I thought this was it, but it turns out this was my mem test.
Whoops.
Test.
Didn't ruin anything, did it?
No, just, I was surprised because it had stuff on it and it should have been empty.
Yeah. That's what I meant. I didn't know if you could have accidentally oopsed what you had on it.
Okay, so all I've done is I've downloaded the file, I've extracted the zip file, and now I'm going to plug it into any USB port in the back of your computer. And you'll see that light comes on. And if I close out camera 1 for a moment, you can see the BIOS full screen. A lot of people are still scared to do BIOS updates because back 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was kind of a nail biter.
I'm still there.
But you know what? It's super easy these days. So all we need to do is go to, where is it? Somewhere in here we should have QFlash. It says press F8. Do you see that? Right down here. It's my mouse. It says QFlash. That's the quick flash in the BIOS. So we hit F8 on the keyboard, and it says, do you want to update your BIOS from a drive? Yes, I do. So I hit enter. It says, please select a device. That should be the device, I think. And it looks at the contents of the flash drive. There's that, remember I said the extension on the file name was
20.
.20G? That's how Gigabyte, many other manufacturers will label the extension of the BIOS, the version of the BIOS.
The version, yeah.
And then I'll just hit enter on that. And now it's going to verify that it's the right BIOS for this motherboard. And then it says, do you want to do a normal update or cancel? We want to do a normal update, so I hit enter again. This is a live BIOS update. And to clarify, some people say, well, why do you update the BIOS if you don't need it? And I say, why wait till you need it to have to update the BIOS?
It'd be too late.
Right? So let's do it now and get it out of the way. It's not the scary thing it used to be. Well, then the question is, how come manufacturers say not to do it unless you need it? Because they don't want your tech support call when you do it wrong, right? And it still carries over from years and years and years ago when it was kind of sketchy and it was pretty easy to screw up. Nowadays, the board won't even let you flash it unless you have the right BIOS, at least on a modern computer within the last 10 years. So it's easier for the manufacturer to say, leave it alone unless you need to adjust it, because if they encourage you to update it and it causes a problem, well, you're the one who told me to do it, right? So then they have an unnecessary and avoidable support call because somebody did something they didn't have to do and they didn't do it right. But the idea of doing it right now is pretty hard to do it wrong. The only thing that could happen at this point is we could lose power right now. If we lose power during a BIOS update, then it'll corrupt the BIOS and the motherboard may not boot. But Gigabyte has a dual BIOS, meaning there's a backup BIOS. So even if that were to happen with Gigabyte boards and other boards that support dual BIOS, you'll be able to recover. I think I've only recovered 2 ever. And they didn't happen during a BIOS update. They happened during a lightning storm. Somehow caused the BIOS, like the machine wouldn't boot. Anyway, be patient. That's really the key to updating a BIOS. When you're updating a BIOS, leave the computer alone. Don't touch the keyboard, don't touch the mouse. Just leave it alone. It will take as long as it'll take. It should take anywhere from 2 minutes upwards of 8 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on the size of the BIOS and how you're updating it.
Is that the upgrade bar there?
Yeah, yeah, we're at 45%. Now you'll notice I didn't upgrade each BIOS. I didn't go from F3 to F4 to, I just go to the latest one. There are some motherboards where they'll say before you can update to this latest one, you must make sure you have this one first.
Wow.
I've seen that. However, it's pretty rare. For the most part, you just get the latest one. And it'll tell you. If you download the latest one and it won't install, it says it's wrong, then go back and read it a little closer, because it'll probably say it's for a different motherboard, or it'll say you need to have at least BIOS version XYZ before you can apply this one.
Amazing. And when it comes to BIOS, man, I've never did it, and it's something that, not that.
The other thing this will do, like let's say there's a Windows 10 update in spring that says your system's not compatible for this update, and you're going to call me with a support call. And it would be pretty sketchy for me to do this remotely. Like with you, I could, because I could have you, maybe I could guide you through the BIOS, but I can't see the BIOS remotely.
Right.
I have to be in Windows. I need you in Windows for me to access your system remotely. And there's probably a BIOS flash utility that is Windows, that you can run from within Windows. But this is the way I like to do it. That means you'd be unplugging the computer, loading it back in the car, and bringing it back over here.
Oh, gosh.
You understand? So I'm not saying that that's definitely a problem, but I can tell you it won't be a problem because we're putting the latest BIOS on. That's why I say I would rather have the latest BIOS before I need it.
You know, another thing that's hard to find, it's a flash drive that has a LED light on it.
They still make them.
Do they?
Yeah, the problem is finding one that's small in capacity. That's a little 2 gig flash drive we're using. Nowadays, trying to find an 8 gig, anything under 16 is difficult.
I was just going to say.
In fact, the 16 gig flash drive I use, these SanDisk ones, these were $22. People are like, you pay $22 for a $5 flash drive? These are fast. The cheap flash drives are really, really slow. But now the 64 gig version of this drive is $17, just as fast. And the 16 gig isn't even available at any price, at least on Amazon. So I'm having to buy the 64 gig ones now. And those have little lights on them. Okay, so what's happening right now is the system is rebooting itself. That's why it says no signal. So remember, we're not touching anything. Just leave the system alone. The fans have shut off, the lights went off, the lights didn't go off, but the fans shut off. Now the system's starting up again, and I'm not touching anything. Be patient, nothing is happening yet. This is normal. Let it sit for a minute as it processes the rest of that update. Even though it's giving us no signal, it is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Don't freak out and think you caused any problem. You see it kind of blanked out for a minute there, and it shut itself back off, turned itself back on. Now, depending on the make and model of motherboard, this could happen a half dozen times. Nothing's wrong, leave it alone. Now we're back at the post screen, but I want to remind our audience I have not put power onto your solid state drive. So it has nothing to boot from.
Yeah.
But that's good. We know it's going to boot.
Wow.
And we know that it appears you have a bad power supply. Now, that's the latest BIOS. To confirm the latest BIOS, I'll hit reset on the machine, and I'll hit the delete button when the logo comes up. We're going to go back in the BIOS, and we're going to check our BIOS version manually. BIOS version is now F20G.
Wow.
So it didn't cause any harm. So even if there's no benefit to you having this updated BIOS, it didn't hurt anything.
It didn't hurt anything, but
Right? So why not? Again, those days of it's dangerous, those are behind us now. It's, like I said, the motherboard is not going to let you flash it. And if you have a pre-built machine, it's important you go to the manufacturer, especially like a laptop. You go to, like, let's say you have a Dell laptop, go to Dell support, look under the BIOS version for your laptop, see if there's a new one. And Dell and HP and all those companies, they make it super easy. You just download a file. You don't have to go and do it the way I just did it. You can run it right from within Windows, and it does everything all on its own. And then when you're done, delete that file because you will never, ever need it again. And it would just be a potential point of issue if you were to be looking through your downloads folder one day, see this file, go, oh, what's this? And you double click it, and it's going to want to update the BIOS again, which would be pointless. You could always cancel it, but if you want to avoid that, just delete the file when you're done with it. Like this flash drive I'm using, I'm going to erase the file on there because I'll never need it again.
So that's why you got it left in, so you can delete
It's always an empty flash drive so that anytime I'm updating a BIOS, I don't have to look through a list of several BIOSes from other people's computers that I've done in the past and then accidentally hit the wrong one. If there's only one file on the flash drive,
You're safe.
it makes that decision super easy. Okay, so I'm going to shut this back off. Let's go back to camera one, guys. Let's go full screen here. Okay, we'll hit the switch, cut the power. Again, I will delete the file off of my flash drive for BIOS flashing. Not that you couldn't use any flash drive and put the BIOS on it, but I do it a lot. And I want to make sure that I have the latest BIOS on a flash drive that has nothing on it, because I could be confused with everything going on. I want to verify you have a bad power supply, because now that we've got everything working, the next step is going to be to put your power supply back on and see if we have the same symptom that we had before.
You want this turned off here?
No, yes. So I'll remember to plug in the graphics card this time. That was just a test to see if you were paying attention. Yeah, that's the ticket.
Yeah, but with me is, I know nothing and I can prove it.
All right, so all I'm going to do at this point now is put everything back the way it was, and ideally we should have a machine that won't power up again. And if that's the case, we know definitively through this diagnostic procedure that we have a bad power supply. And then, as I already mentioned, he can choose to replace it with a brand new one at his expense, or if you're under warranty, make arrangements to send it back to the manufacturer, and for the cost of shipping, just to them, they'll pay for shipping back. You'll have a brand new unit, but your warranty is still ticking regardless. It doesn't reset unless you buy a new power supply.
Okay. So they'll only warrant the new one for
Whatever's
say a year.
remaining. Whatever, may not even be a year, maybe 10 months. And the time you spend sending it to them and waiting for them to send it back,
doesn't count.
that's still warranty time, just like a car. If your
Yeah,
car
well,
has
that's
a
what I
warranty
meant.
and it sits in the shop for 3 weeks,
Burning
you
up
don't
the
get an
warranty.
extra 3 weeks add-on. Okay, so that's everything put back the way it was. We'll put power back in it here. So you thought it was the power supply. That was your guess. And then, again, I'll put it back over to camera 2, which is the which just means I have to shrink us down a bit. It's right up there.
The master switch is off.
Will you flip that on for me?
Contact.
It's dead.
Yeah, it did.
It is flat out dead. So that's your diagnostic, ladies and gentlemen. It's completely dead. It is a power supply. It is under warranty. And I will make a follow-up to this video when the new power supply comes in. I'll install it, test it, and then when it's ready, I'll call you, and you can come pick it up, or I'll bring it to you. We'll figure that part out.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. Yeah.
But here's the great thing about this power supply. For me to send this into warranty, Corsair doesn't want these cables. So all these cables come out, but this is a semi-modular power supply. And that means that there's actually 5 cables. The 3 that I just unplugged, and then motherboard and the 8-pin are hardwired in. And the reason they're hardwired in is it's an option for people if you want to buy a modular power supply. And the reason why people often buy them is because they have a case window and they want to keep their cable management looking nice and pretty. You didn't need it, but regardless, that's what you wanted. So we went with semi-modular because everybody needs to have a motherboard power connector though, and the CPU. You have to have it. So why make those modular? It's not an option, you need it. Well, the reason why you might make it modular is in this scenario, we would simply unplug. But now I have to undo some cable management.
Yep, I was going to say.
That's all. But that
Hope
only
it's
takes...
not too much.
No, it's super easy. Watch. We'll do it right now. I will tell you, I'm really, really good at disassembling things. It's putting them back together that can be a little...
I know, I usually have extra parts.
Yeah, when you're left over, more than you started with.
Exactly.
Look how beautiful that cable, man. I'm so proud of my work.
It's fabulous.
So what I'm going to do is grab my wire cutters, which are in this drawer right here.
So, how many cables come with the supply? The one that goes to the motherboard?
Just 2.
Just 2?
2 are built in.
Okay.
CPU power and motherboard power, which were the
Okay.
2 I plugged in. And remember when I forgot to hook up the video card? Not everybody has a video card, so that cable's modular. You can,
Yeah.
on that power supply that we tested with,
Yeah.
we would have to wrap all those extra cables up and find a place to hide them, or,
Right.
you know, if we cared about how it looks. So there are basically, it looks like 3 wire, well, so this is the 8-pin power, and I've got a wire tie, like, it's not a wire tie, it's a nylon zip tie right here. There's one right here. Now when you're cutting these nylon zip ties off, it's really important you don't cut into the cable.
Oh,
So I use these precision wire cutters. These are like $6 off Amazon, and they're in my Amazon store link below the video. There's notes, and these are these nice Italian, you'll see they got a bend on them, so you can get real smooth and tight to whatever you're cutting, but you can also go right through the cables if you're not careful. So the way I do this is I'm always very cautious about coming in on an angle so I'm flat with the cable. That's why it won't cut that way.
Yep.
Right? So in here, like I can't really go flat here, but what I can do is, well, I left myself some slack. I can get right through there and get that one removed. We'll get this one removed.
It always pays to have the
And
right
this is the
tool
last
for the
one.
right job.
Absolutely. Like when you have a laptop with screws that won't come out.
I still say they put Loctite on those screws.
Oh, they did. Oh, they absolutely did. But regardless, that's not any different than any other laptop, but I never had to struggle like that before. So anyway, we're going to take that cable out. It comes out of this hole up here. And on the 200R, this is always a tight fit. Come on. All right, I'll leave that for right now. We'll do this one because this one's super easy. Sometimes if you get frustrated with something, do something easy so you feel like you're getting something done. Can reinvigorate you.
Yeah.
At least that's how it works for me.
Lord.
So there's the big 24-pin cable.
Big, all
And
right.
so the issue I'm having with this cable up here is
No room.
yeah, it's just the little clippy thing is just right there. I kind of have to pull on the, it's all a matter of angles to get this out right. And I'm not real patient today. My energy drink has kicked in.
Usually I need a flashlight to see what the heck's
Oh, yeah.
going on.
Yeah. Well, I could do this blindfolded because it's the same case that I've always worked with. But that's there. We'll take this out. And then there's just these 4 screws. So you were correct, sir. You diagnosed it properly.
Well, put it this way, if I never worked in electronics at all, I would have not have figured it out.
And there she is.
Yeah,
A little dusty.
amazing.
Now,
And when the fan was on, it was a heck of a lot quieter than, because I think the power supply was going and not,
that shouldn't have had any effect on your fan. It's possible that your fan is just dying, and I can swap it out with another one as long as I remember to do it. And you got a bug in your computer. Let's see if I can zoom in.
not in my house.
There's something in there with wings. I mean, when you told me your computer had bugs, I didn't know you were literal.
Where was that at? The bug,
The
eh?
focus. Can you see the wings down there? Looks like a little V. Right down at the bottom
Wow.
there. So I will also hit this with the leaf blower and get it dusted out before I give it back to you.
That came from your house, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that
don't
and
get
the,
me going.
there it is. There. I feel like camera's not cooperating with me today. I'm just really in.
That's amazing.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those screws and these screws, and I'm going to get a little cup, which I have in here somewhere. And in order to make sure that I put everything back, I will keep this little glass with the screws with your computer. And that way, when
Yep.
in 2 weeks from now, when this comes, I won't be like, what did I do with the screws?
That is, man, this is a big box for just to hold the fan, and everything else is small.
Well, that circuit board's the full size.
Yeah.
But a couple other contributions came in, so let me give you guys the shouts out you deserve. We have Michael Barra has contributed $2. He says, here's some money for your Christmas. Well, thank you, Michael. Mervyn Jordan contributed $10. He says, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from Phoenix, Arizona. Right on, Mervyn. Chris Storer has contributed $4.99. He says, Merry Christmas from Bakersfield, California. Wonder Woman has contributed $4.99 and says, my birthday is on Christmas Day.
Well, my wife's is on the 14th,
14th of December or
December.
January.
December.
How do you know if other components aren't blown after the power supply is replaced? Well, we just checked it.
Yeah.
By putting the other power supply in, we verified that everything's working. So generally that doesn't happen, but with a big power spike, like if Martin came here and he said, you know, we had a big, all the power went out in the house, there was a storm, big storm came in, then I would be worried.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he described it, you know, the screen was flickering and then, you know, when he went to start the machine back up, it just wouldn't come back on. That's typically not the same as a power spike. Chris Garrett has contributed $5, and apparently they think that you and I are like, you look like the skipper and I'm like Gilligan.
Yeah, Gil.
Alan Hale.
Oh, well.
Hey, no, that's not a bad thing. Just don't hit me over the head with your hat and we'll be okay.
Oh, I left it at home.
Shane D has contributed $5. He said, this is the reason why I like Carey. It's unscripted learning. That's pretty much what you get in school. You know, your teachers don't necessarily, whether it's elementary school, high school, or college, It's not like your teachers are reading from a script. It's a very natural, realistic way of real life learning that I'm trying to emulate here on YouTube. John Wilson's contributed $20. He says, happy Christmas. Here's for Cokes and doggy treats. Oh, thank you, John. And Irving T., who watches us all the way from France, has contributed €2. He says, I wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. Right on. Thank you so much.
Can I do one thing? Can I do a shout out
Please.
to one name? Because I want to send him the video. I want to shout out to my best buddy. His name is Jim Elliott in Illinois.
Jim Elliott in
Enjoy
Illinois.
the show.
And remember, folks, it's Illinois, not Illinois.
Yeah, there's no noise in Illinois.
Exactly. You've heard that before. Something else before you spoke. There was something else I was going to do. Oh, you got a mechanical drive in here too. So that's your big storage drive. I see. I forgot. I'd have to go back and look at the build video.
It's a 4 terabyte.
4 terabyte. That's
4
all.
terabyte and 1 terabyte SSD.
I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
Here, I'll walk out and walk back in again.
If it was that easy, it was only that easy.
It's catching up with you. I'm already there.
So one of the ways you can support this channel, if you enjoy this content, if you want to see more of it, first of all, when you like content, anybody's content, there's a thumbs up and a thumbs down button. If you click the thumbs up button, you're right on your face. It's a way of telling the content creator you want to see more content like this. And similarly, if you don't like this kind of content, you can leave. And if you're nasty, you can hit the thumbs down button. And then there's the subscribe button. So if you want to be made aware of when new videos of mine are posted, there's a big red rectangular subscribe button, and a little bell icon will appear. And if you don't click the bell icon, you may not receive notifications. If you're not getting the notifications, if you've done all that and notifications aren't coming through, it's probably being blocked by your email address, or you've set it up with an email address you don't use anymore. What I recommend to those people is go and create a free Gmail account and create a YouTube channel with that Gmail account. Then you can tell Gmail to forward all of the Gmail that you're receiving to whatever email account you normally use, and you never have to use Gmail ever again. And then when the YouTube notifications, because Google owns YouTube and Google owns Gmail, that always works. And if you're still not getting them, then there's something about the way you've got your personal email configured, because if you log into your Gmail account, I guarantee they're there. And if you set that up through your phone, you can even receive the notifications on your phone. Because this channel is viewer supported, at this point right now, contributions like in December have been very generous this month. Other months, you know, some months are better than others. And that is what enables me to have more time to make more videos. Because I still have a house payment, I still have all the bills everybody else has. I also work as a technician to sort of bridge the gap between those months where YouTube isn't generating much revenue, or contributions are less than other times. Until such a time exists where I can generate enough revenue annually to just do YouTube, the videos are sort of whenever I have time to make them. And for the most part, I've been trying to make them every day, Monday through Friday, trying to take the weekends off, and I try to go on from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Arizona time, which is 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time, or 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. Now, some days I have a later start. Today, obviously, started a little bit later. Some days I start at 4 o'clock, and I still want to wrap it up by 5, and typically it'll go a little late. It'll go 6. Also, if you don't like these long format videos, know that there'll be an edited version of this video. My sister will trim out all of this, what I call the fat. That's me just talking, which I do a little bit of.
You're going to trim me out, yeah.
You'll be in there, don't worry. She's going to replace you like George Lucas, make it Jabba the Hutt.
With Jimmy.
Anyway, you guys can support the channel a number of different ways, which is through the contributions, through Super Chat, through PayPal, and there's a link in the PayPal in the video notes below the video, or simply by using my Amazon link. There's an Amazon store that I have with all the products. A lot of people ask about this Lazy Susan. That's all there. You can buy it. I bought it from, well, a customer bought this for me, but they bought it from Amazon. You can get the exact same everything, same screwdriver, same wire cutters, same keyboard, mouse, power supply. All of that was sourced from Amazon. If you use one of my Amazon links in any of my videos to take you to Amazon, then anything you purchase in that Amazon visit, I will make a small commission from. You won't pay any differently. Nothing changes from your point. And if enough of you do that, even a $2 purchase or a $5 purchase, with 1,400, 1,500 people watching, and again, that's only for the US version of Amazon. I don't have it set up for others. And another way that you can support the channel is by jumping into the chat room, hanging out and being friendly, being supportive. And it's super easy. Anybody can do it. You'll see there's a lot of names in blue. These are people I've recognized in the community as being regular viewers. Doesn't necessarily mean that they've contributed anything other than showing they are a positive and supportive person in the community. And so by changing their name to blue, because there's so many people, some names are less familiar to me than others, and it reminds me of people that have been supportive. And it is my goal to turn everybody blue. That's what I want to do. So, and then finally, just sharing the links to the videos, tweet them out, put them on your social media, let people know I exist. That's a great way to show your support. So there's all these different ways to do it. It all doesn't have to do with money. A lot of it just has to do with kindness. Chris Storrs contributed $1.99. He says, how do we send you stuff? Send me an email and I can answer that privately. Thank you for your contribution.
I wonder where he was from.
And Marty just contributed $2 more. Again, thank you to Marty. I remember now what I was going to do. I think we should give the dogs a cookie.
Oh, bow wow, huh?
You want to see something funny? Well, first of all, Jimmy's just laying behind you.
I know.
And Lyle, I think, is outside because he's kind of aloof. But watch what happens when I clank this. That's the lid to the cookie jar. And suddenly,
Jimmy heard
look
it.
what happens.
Oh, there's Lyle.
Suddenly, he's interested. Hello, did you call my name? So this is some of the treats that came with the bark box this month, or it was last month, I don't remember. This is turkey duck chicken. You want some turkey duck chicken? Oh my goodness. Is that a yes?
Oh, Dad, yes, I love that.
Because you know they're starving.
Oh,
they haven't
I
eaten
know.
since 2 hours ago. Oh, these look like little, it's like a little chicken or something, a little duck or turkey. There's one for you.
Like I say, dogs do best what they dogs do.
Eat,
Dogs do best what dogs do.
which is eat.
Oh, well, whatever they do.
Here, let me stand over here. So.
Especially guarding the house. They heard you go out to get the mail. As soon as they heard the door, man, Jimmy came in.
Oh yeah, they do their job.
Yeah.
You got to earn your keep around here.
And that's what I mean. Dogs do what they do best.
Well, not all of them. Some dogs just lay on the couch. Look, I'm not even making them work for it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even ask for a paw or anything.
Yeah. 10 calories, and they use all of one just to eat it.
Well, Jimmy at least chooses food.
Oh.
There you go, boy. Now, I hate it when this happens.
Uh-oh.
There's only one left. So I guess we're going to break it in half. We'll give you one. Can I have a paw? Can I have the other one? Good boy. What about you? Can I have your paw? Can I have your other one? Good boys. Show-offs. And there's my little clickbait right there. This is click and this is bait. Good boys. You're all done. You finished it. There's nothing left. They're like, we saw the contributions. I know that pays for more than that. Don't worry, you'll be hungry again tomorrow. Tomorrow? What about dinner? All right. You'll get your dinner later. Okay, that's good, boys. I'm done with you. Now go away. Okay, good boys. Good boys. Joe Justice says, thank you for encouraging me to build my own PC. Right on, Joe. Thomas Beckenstowe has contributed $20. He says, thank you, Carey, for the great show and education. Well, again, thank you for supporting the channel. Madi Yoel has contributed $5. Thank you, Madi. Gamer PS1234 has contributed 20 pounds. He says, I'm wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas, Mr. Holzman. Is my dad here, Mr. Holzman? Thank you. Alt Fit has contributed 20 pounds. Says, Merry Christmas. You know what you are doing, and that is appreciated. Good information is greater than bad information. Right on. We'll make sure everybody hears. Our moderators, if they're not already, thanks you guys for continuing to support the channel. I appreciate that. Like, you have no idea. People are like, yeah, you have a YouTube channel, you're raking in the bucks. Yeah, you must not have been on YouTube as a creator because, well, anyway, it's the viewers that support it that make this many videos possible.
I did 2 uploads to YouTube, and I was lucky if I got anybody to watch it, let alone get paid.
You know what, it takes time. Nobody, I mean, if people don't know you exist, how do they know to watch your video? And so you just have to, you have to be patient and keep creating content. If you just make 1 video or 2 videos and then you don't make any more for a while, you don't build any momentum. And you may end up making 50, 60 videos for what ends up being, maybe 30 or 40 viewers. But it just keeps building, it snowballs. And it takes a while for that snowball to build. But if you stick with it, if you build it, they will come.
Yep.
I'm just looking through the chat. Moderators are doing a good job here. Again, we just ask for people to be supportive, and we ask for people that sometimes somebody comes in, they like try and take over. They like try and tell you how to do your job, and it's like, hey man, sounds like you would have a great YouTube channel. You should totally make your own video demonstrating to us. Other times people are just participating, and we want to make sure that we're not overreaching with the mods with regards to,
Let me tell you, doing what you're doing is, yeah.
So Soren Rasmussen has been, I'm going to call you out because you're muting people or you're deleting messages from people that are not offensive. And I don't want to take away your moderator status. I'm going to ask you, Soren, please stop doing that. I only want messages hidden that are from people being rude or vulgar. If somebody is putting up their best guess on what they think the problem is, there's no reason to hide that message. And the great thing about being a mod is when your name is in blue, you don't have to do anything. It's not your job to hide messages. What I primarily make you blue for is so that I recognize you in the chat as a friend and a supporter of the channel. But sometimes people in blue, they get a little power hungry. They start erasing messages, and the person may not have said anything wrong. It's just the way you interpreted it. And then you end up costing your viewer. You can upset people, and they're like, well, I'm not going to go back to that guy's channel. So I would appreciate that you guys don't delete any messages. If your name is in blue, the only time I want you to delete a message is if somebody is being vulgar or if somebody's being blatantly rude. If it doesn't meet those two or you're not sure, then don't do anything. Because if you don't do anything, I'll never be upset by it. But if you overreach, then we're going to have this talk. So I want to keep everybody blue. I don't want to remove the blue status. So if you're not sure, I mean, Soren, you've done a lot of them today. Please stop. Okay, let other mods do their job too. Brian Rimple says, Carey, do you still have the Go Faster stickers with a $20 PayPal contribution? I do. You can go to careyholzman.com and go through that process. The PayPal link to PayPal me directly because TechVets is currently down. We're working on that problem. There is a link in the video notes that says, want to contribute to my YouTube channel, just click here, and it's right to PayPal directly. So that's another way to contribute. And thanks you guys so much. Mike Podakowicz says, Merry Christmas, Carey. Thanks for all you do. Great channel. Thank you, Mike. Bob Galbraith says, from Florida, we wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Amanda Bain says, I'd love to go blue and be seen as a friend of the channel. I've learned so much. I don't recognize Amanda, but you know what? It's Christmas. Moderator. Normally, a moderator isn't necessarily something you ask for. It's typically something that's given. But sometimes if you don't speak up, I may not notice you. So it's okay to ask. Wonder Woman says, I love this video. Right on. Thank you. Is this your kitchen? Yes, this is my kitchen. The kitchen is a great place to work on a computer because it is a brightly lit, large room that's typically not carpeted, which is more friendly with regards to creating static or avoiding it. Also, family is a place where family get together. You know, everybody's busy and off doing things. And when do the family see each other? Often at meal times. So this is for me, computers are a family thing because everybody uses them in some way, shape, or form. And because we all have that interest, I believe in educating people on how to have more control over this so they don't feel so, if it breaks, what do I do? Like that gives them more control, more power. The power is in your hands, you know? And like I said, the kitchen is it's often very brightly lit, and there's often good counter space. I don't think it would be appropriate to build in a bathroom.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Or a closet, or a bedroom, or a living room. But it depends on the living room. But the kitchen to me, because look, I'm not trying to come out here and put on a big show. I'm trying to educate people. So if you're going to replicate what you see me do, you're probably watching me from home. You're probably not working for a company that you're getting your education from me on because the companies train you. But if you don't work for a company that's going to train you, where do you get the training from? You can pay for it at college or some other school or books, and nothing wrong with that. But I can at least offer you some information for free and replicate what you can expect to do. And I would expect you to work in your kitchen for the same reasons I work in mine. Not that you have to, but that's what I recommend, and for those reasons. AltFit just contributed 10 pounds. He says, I saw an episode of yours regarding custom-built laptops. If component manufacturers started supplying modular equipment to build laptops, it could become a very successful market. Is there any chance? No. They used to make bare bones, and they might still make bare bones laptops, which would be the laptop case, the laptop screen, the laptop motherboard, and you put in your own CPU, RAM, and storage. But the problem with putting your own CPU in is they're all desktop CPUs, and they consume more power, they run a lot hotter. Laptop CPUs are soldered on, they're part of the board. So the issue with laptops, you have to deal with size, weight, battery, motherboard, power, screen size. It's impossible. It would be impossible apart from maybe with a 3D printer, you could custom make your own case, and maybe with a parts maker, you could design your own board, or you could buy a board. It doesn't make any sense to do it yourself because no matter what you do, it'll never be as optimized as something coming out of Dell, you know, that's been engineered by college-educated engineers so that it's properly cooled and has all the proper components put into the smallest space with the best battery life for whatever screen size you're selecting. It doesn't do you any good to build your own laptop if we all have to use the same case, because that's going to limit what you can do. And that's the gist of it. So yes, there are bare bones laptops, but you'll never be able to build your own laptop. Never. Well, I don't think I'll ever see it because it doesn't make any sense. These days, with what people are doing with tablets and cell phones, it'd be sort of like building your own tablet or cell phone. It doesn't make any sense for you to do it. Are there other technical questions I can answer for everybody? We're just hit 2 hours on the stream. Shane D says, I would like a heads up or warning. All right, Shane. Shane mentions that I unmoderated him. I removed his moderator status because he had, I had seen what he was doing as over aggressive, and I'm not consistent with regards to who I remove and who I warn. And the reason for that is sometimes I'm really busy and I don't have time. Just, I need to stop that behavior immediately. So you're back as a moderator. Just like I said, if the best thing I can advise my moderators is if you're not certain, let somebody else do it. Just bring it to my attention. That's all you need to do. But if I see somebody being blatantly vulgar or blatantly rude, clearly and obviously rude, not telling a joke, but just trying to draw attention to themselves, under those two circumstances, would it be okay to hide somebody? Otherwise, the best thing you can do is just bring it to my attention. I will never get upset for you to do that. But if you overreach, if you don't get a joke and you ban somebody because you don't get their joke, or if somebody's offering suggestions and you find that to be disrespectful, I want people to offer suggestions. It's okay. Because what I find is that's a learning experience for them too. They may come in here saying, you're doing that wrong, you should be doing this, and then it turns out I fixed it and everything they said was wrong. They're just doing that to themselves. I don't need to. And other times their suggestions are right. Other times they're telling me something and it turns out they're exactly right. And that happens a lot more than I'd like to admit. But the fact of the matter is, whether or not you agree with me, that's not important. What's important is that you're kind. Just be kind, and be kind to each other, not just to me. And after all, it's the Christmas season. We're a couple days away. If you're not going to extend some tolerance to your fellow human beings, I mean, this is the time to do it. So, and I thank you. I know you're looking out for me. I appreciate it. Just need you to dial it down a notch. All right. Mojo Linux says that fan noise that you heard may have been your power supply fan. Do you think it's possible that you were hearing this fan and not this fan?
Oh, there's always a possibility, you know. My ears, my eyes.
Amanda Bain says, I shared this video on Instagram. I don't have Facebook or Twitter. Well, that's good because I don't have Instagram. So that's perfect. Thank you. Shane D says, you've made my day, Carey. Well, Merry Christmas, Shane. Look, there are things that get misinterpreted, right? I feel like you were overly aggressive when I removed your moderator status, and perhaps I misinterpreted your actions, but your actions were a result of you misinterpreting, in my opinion, what you were responding to. So everything's a big issue with communication. Sometimes intent gets lost, and that's why caution is always advised when it comes to these kind of social things. I want everybody to feel welcome. Sometimes people come in and they're just here to draw attention.
Yeah.
Right? They're not coming in for the right reasons. And by the way, they make pills for that now. But regardless of that, those are the people we want to remove. Or, you know, in fact, I don't want any of my mods removing anybody. At the worst, they can delete a message. But if the message is vulgar or blatantly disrespectful, that's all. That's all. Super easy job. And nobody has to do it. I'll never get mad at any of you or upset over your inaction. So thank you. Zero Core says the same thing happened to him. Yes, you can have your mod status back. I'm going to lead by example. I want to demonstrate tolerance. I want to demonstrate support. The fact that you're here and you are asking to be moderators, or if you were a moderator at one point, and it hasn't, you know, through losing your mod status, you still continue to come back and be a member of the viewers. That means a lot to me. That shows me who you are deep down, as far as what this channel means to you, because that tells me it means as much to you as it does to me. And I gladly will give your moderator status back. Lessons learned, you know. mod status is not permanent, and mod removal isn't permanent either. You know, everybody has a chance to make mistakes and to understand, if they didn't before, where the line is when they're crossing it. So anyway, any other questions I can answer for people? Technical questions? I'd be happy to do that right now. Otherwise, we're going to wrap things up here. Chris Padilla says, have a super Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you. Feliz Navidad. That's from Ramon Rodriguez. Abdul Azim Patel says, happy holidays to all. David R. Registers contributed $5. Christian wants to know if I've ever used transcript. No, can't say I would ever have a need for that. John Wilson says, amen, Carey. Can't we all just get along with each other? It's super easy. It's super easy. Agreed. Zero Core says, yay, you've made my Christmas special. Right on, Zero Core. It's good to have you back as a mod. Ryan Farmer just contributed 20 pounds. He says, happy Christmas, Carey. Hey, Ryan, thank you so much. Technologic says, Merry Christmas. Again, Merry Christmas to all of you. AltFit has contributed 5 pounds. He goes, do you agree with the concerns of Elon Musk regarding AI software? Yes. Though Elon paints a picture of disparity, I don't think it's going to immediately jump to being that bad, but absolutely there's a concern there, and it is real. But I believe that that before that happens, we'll be able to shut it down. AI learning is going to happen at a massive, incredible rate of speed. What AI can learn in 1 second is probably more than you and I will learn in a year. So you can imagine how quickly it evolves into things that we may not anticipate. And it's nothing software can't fix. The software can write rules in place, like Isaac Asimov was at iRobot, that there were basic 3 rules. Remember, did you ever read iRobot?
Oh, I've got that at home. I love iRobot. Man.
Well, I know there's somebody in the chat who knows the 3 rules for robots. And this is a book from what, the 1950s, 1960s, sci-fi book. But anytime there's an issue with the AI, once it's acknowledged, the code can be written to address that. The problem is, will we be able to keep up with the code as fast as AI is learning? But by writing the code, we change how AI learns. So it's going to have to evolve and be crafted. We can't just let it free off the leash. If we let it free off the leash, then yes, then what Elon says would be theoretically possible. But it doesn't seem like that would make any sense for anybody to write AI and walk away from it. The point of it is that we learn and we become better. So in order for us to become better, we have to watch what the AI does, supervise it, monitor it, and then code it to behave in a way that we want it to behave. When it behaves unexpectedly, now we've learned, and we code that behavior out of it. Abdul Azim Patel has contributed $20. He says a friend has a Pentium dual-core CPU, an i3 or an i3 with 32 gigs of RAM. Is the friend limited due to the slow CPU? It's really hard to say. It depends on how your friend uses the computer. As long as the computer meets the individual owner's needs, that's all that matters. We can study specs all day long. It means nothing compared to saying, hey, Martin, do you like this computer? Is it running fast for you? Is there any problems with it?
The only problem I had was it was running too fast.
So
But
it
I'm
doesn't
getting used
matter.
to
I
it.
didn't ask him what his processor was or how much RAM he had. It doesn't matter what he has. What matters is how he feels about it. And if he feels like this thing is slow or I can't do what I need to do because it won't let me, then the answer to your question is yes. If they say, I'm very happy with the computer, then the answer to your question is no.
Yep.
So that is the second question. So if Martin were to say, I can't install the latest Windows 10 for some reason, or it seems like it takes a while to do this task, and I do this task all the time, and it's really trying my patience. Like that laptop. You were barely using that laptop.
Barely.
Now that we've changed out the hard drives for solid state drives, you started using it, even though now you kind of have to. But even before then, you were telling me, wow, this thing is like a whole new laptop.
Yeah, everything boot it up fast, and I can go to different programs a heck of a lot faster. And instead of minutes, it's
Seconds.
very fast. Yeah.
And so for Martin, that's the right solution for him and his expectations and his needs or his wants. Somebody else could have that laptop with the original drives in it and be completely happy with it. So there's no right or wrong answer here. But I wouldn't go creating problems. I wouldn't try and convince them you need something faster. Just ask them, are you happy with it? Good. You're not happy with it? Well, let's take a look and see what could be causing that. Oh, well, it's only got an i3, something like that. You could say, oh, probably the biggest upgrade you could make to any older machine or any modern machine is if you don't have a solid state drive, regardless of what kind of processor or how much RAM, put the money into a solid state drive, and you'd be surprised how fast an i3 can be.
Can I mention one thing? Before you started even building a computer for you, you wanted me to tell you what I wanted to do with the computer.
Well, it's very important.
And you built it exactly to my needs.
If I was going to sell you a car, I want to know, why do you need a car? Right? Do you have a family and kids? You need, do we need to have a big SUV and 4 doors? Or you're a retired guy, the kids are all out of the nest, or you don't have any kids and now it's Corvette time, sports car time? Or maybe you want to go all electric because you're really important, it's really important to you to be green as possible, maybe a Tesla. Or maybe you have range anxiety, so you want a car with an engine and a battery, so maybe you want a Chevy Volt or a Prius. Or maybe you want to go off-roading and have a little fun, so you need a Jeep. Or maybe you just bought a boat and now you need something to tow it with. Or maybe, this goes on and on and on. Minivan, Miata, a Hummer, or a Jaguar. There's no wrong answers here. It's about listening and I'm not telling you what I want, but me delivering what you want. That's my job. What I often see on the internet are people telling other people what they want. And that's super easy because it doesn't take any effort for me to tell you what I want. I don't have to ask you any questions.
You just build what you want. And
Carey, do you have any gaming builds coming up in 2020? There are a lot of builds coming up. That's all I can tell you. Any build I do can be a gaming build if you add a graphics card to it. In fact, some of these builds can run games with the onboard, built-in internal graphics of the processor. I mean, AMT's Ryzen 3000 series with their built-in graphics are far better than the processors before. So depending on your gaming demands, any system can be a gaming system. Fun fact, the word robot was invented by a Czech writer, Joseph Kapik. It came from robota, which means work. Look at that.
that's interesting.
Stealth Mode says, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Carey, I want to know your opinion on XMP. Does it matter in day-to-day computing? If you have a discrete graphics card, you probably won't see much difference with XMP, certainly on Intel. On Ryzen, XMP can make a difference, maybe, depending on how you use the computer. But definitely, if you're going to use onboard graphics, XMP can improve the performance of that. But AMD is you're far more likely to notice XMP if you're going to notice it. And they don't even call it XMP. AMD calls it something else, which I'm sure plenty of people in the chat can tell me what it is. I don't know. It's like 4 letters, D, C, H, or something. I can't remember. But anyway, there's a couple of variables. One is how you use the computer. 2, if you're somebody who would notice it. There are customers that every customer I have turned XMP on for has never been able to tell a difference. So some people, it's a placebo effect, They're just convinced because they turn on XMP and they see the number, they're convinced everything's faster. And that's okay. You know what? At the end of the day, as long as you're happy.
Yeah.
So I don't think XMP makes much difference at all. Even in the cases of Ryzen's and in graphics cards, the performance difference is so microscopic. You really need benchmarking software. Like, I don't think you're going to be playing a game with XMP on and playing a game with XMP off and go, I noticed it. I really don't think you will. But if you do, so be it. I'm not going to tell you you won't. I'm not going to tell you you can't. It's just, it's very much in how you use the computer, what the XMP is, like, you know, how fast is it, and how sensitive you are, how impatient you might be to notice that difference. But ultimately, if it makes you happy and you like it, don't let anybody take that from you. You know, that's how you feel. And how you feel doesn't have to be justified with logic. Sometimes you feel with your heart and not with your brain. It's still okay.
Exactly.
Kind of went overboard on that one. I don't.
Yeah. It's just like my computer. I'm not a gamer or whatever you want to call it, but I know that if I wanted to do a game, it would work.
Oh yeah,
and I'm happy.
Because that's a GeForce. That's a 980 Ti, which 4 years ago was pretty high end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm still happy.
When you're happy, I'm happy.
And what about Jimmy? Yeah.
Jimmy's always happy. What would be some negatives of turning XMP on? So the negatives, and that's a great question. The negatives are that there can be an incompatibility. So for example, when I built Threadripper and I had turned XMP on, the system was crashing randomly, blue screen. And the problem is I turned XMP on right away. What I should have done is made sure the system was stable. You know, use it for a week, then turn on XMP, then see if there's a difference that I can feel. And if the computer starts blue screening, I can go, well, it wasn't blue screening before, what have I changed? I turn on XMP. And especially with AMD processors, especially when the new Ryzen came out, there was a lot of memory compatibility issues, most of which have been addressed with BIOS updates. Certain memory manufacturers are better than others. With the streaming computer, the 2700X that I'm using to broadcast this stream to you right now, I changed out the RAM for the Corsair, similar to what Martin has here, Corsair Vengeance, at 3200 speed. And when I turned the XMP on, the system wouldn't even post. And I had to manually go in and bring that speed down. I tried 3000, it wouldn't post. Went down to 2800, it finally posted at 2800. Well, I could have left it that way, but I just thought, it's supposed to be 3200. There's some kind of incompatibility here. What price am I going to pay later? Because it appears to work, but clearly it's not right. So I just pulled the memory, went with a different brand of memory that was also rated at 3000 or 3200, turned that profile on for XMP. The system's running great. It's not noticeably faster to me. I just feel better that it's turned on. It's really stupid. But I would hate to pay for the 3200 speed memory and not feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of it, you know? So I turn it on and it makes me feel good. But the problem is, it's not uncommon to start experiencing random crashes when you turn it on. And since there's no noticeable benefit, at least in the cases where I have tried it, why endure that frustration of diagnostic over something you may not notice? Now, how will you know if you notice it or not until you try it? So that's the other thing to consider. You've got to turn it on and start using your computer to see if there's any difference. If you build a computer from scratch and immediately turn XMP on, like I did with Threadripper, what point of comparison do you have as a reference point to know if you're benefiting from it? And furthermore, when it was blue screening, how do I know which part's causing it? So that's why you keep everything as a minimal sort of setup at first. Let it run for a few days, a couple of weeks, then turn the XMP on. Because it can cause those blue screens and it can cause random crashing. Your diagnostic will be immediate. You'll know immediately, well, system was running fine for a few days, a few weeks, then I changed the setting and now it's crashing. There's obviously some sort of memory incompatibility with your board. Now, if XMP made a world of difference, it may be worth the risk, but for me, I do turn it on for people I think will notice it. So Mike Smith of TechVets just got his computer a day early. FedEx, man, I'll tell you what, they told me that thing was supposed to arrive Tuesday, tomorrow, Christmas Eve. He got it today. He got it a day early.
Wow.
So that means it took 3 business days from here to Philadelphia. That's pretty impressive. So Mike's got it unboxed. It fired up. He says, holy smokes, this thing is fast. And that's the Building the Beast video series. And Mike will have filmed him taking it out of the box, so you'll see the way it arrives, how it's packed, and hopefully we got a reaction from him when he plugs it in and turns it on. Hopefully we've got that. And then that'll be tacked on to the end of the video that my sister will edit. It's like in 4 parts, and she'll edit that into, just like we did with your laptop upgrade. You have sort of the long unedited live version, and then my sister will cut out all of the fat, which is what I'm doing now, and just keep it to business and shrink that video as much as possible without losing any of the content regarding the topic of the video. So anyway, should be hearing from Mike very soon. TechVet site is currently down. We're working on it. It got infected with something, and we got to address it. So if people want to contribute to the channel, you can't go to TechVets and hit the donate button, but you can look at the video notes below this video, and there's a PayPal link there directly. So looks like I missed a couple of contributions here, maybe. Did I? Let's see. I think I got them all. And let me just look and see if there were any other questions that I can answer. If you have any technical questions, as a reminder, this is the time to ask me. Luke Greenia says, Carey just deposited the usual $20 into your PayPal for this amazing community. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Luke. Luke's been a very frequent contributor here. And he sends me stuff from Vermont. I got maple syrup and maple candy. How cool is that? Thank you, Luke.
Vermont. Wow.
Mike says a British Lotus sports car is his favorite. Those are great if you don't have a spine and you don't have any luggage and you're not going to go anywhere where you need to put. It's a fast little bare bones of a car. It's back to, all about driving and not about comfort or convenience. And it's a beautiful car, too. There are no Gen 3 APUs for AMD? No? Can I get your email address to email me privately? You can email Carey, here, I'll just put it in chat, C-A-R-E-Y @tech-vets.com. That has nothing to do with the website, so even though the website's down, the email address still works. David says, I won't bother you with mine, Carey. With your what? If you have a question, please ask it. Carey, will you need a receipt to RMA the power supply? Maybe. So here's the way manufacturers deal with RMAs in most cases. So manufacturers can mostly kind of make up their own rules for this stuff, but this power supply has a serial number on it. And Corsair knows the date of manufacture for that serial number. What they don't know is when you bought it. So if you don't have a receipt, they can base it off the serial number. And if the serial number still has a couple of years left, like let's say this has a 5-year warranty, and let's say we've only had it a year, they're not going to ask for the receipt. But let's say Corsair says, this power supply shows it was manufactured 5 years and 2 months ago. So you're not in warranty anymore. But it turns out between distribution, sitting in a warehouse, you ordering it and being delivered to your house, maybe 7 months went by.
Possibly.
So you show them a receipt that shows the date you purchased it, and your warranty starts from the date you purchased it. And that's why it's so important that if you buy something expensive, but you have no intent to open the box up for a while, it's important you open the box, inspect it, test it, make sure it works, because your warranty starts the day of purchase. It doesn't start whenever you get around to taking it out of the box. So if it sits for a year on the shelf and that had a 90-day warranty or a 1-year warranty, saying, but I just took it out of the box, doesn't change your warranty status. So typically, like with the Intel CPU I had to return to Intel, that makes sense that it's an Intel CPU, I had to return it to Intel. They didn't ask me for a receipt because the warranty on it was clear based on that serial number that it was well within warranty. But when you get towards the edge of the date it was manufactured to the time period or the window within distribution and when you purchased it. And another example, so I got these Canon 4K cameras, and I was talking about how there's a firmware update on the cameras, and I was going to have to do it to the 2 cameras I just got because this firmware update just came out like a month ago.
Wow.
Both cameras already have the latest firmware update. So that tells me, as a consumer, that I wasn't buying old inventory, right? I fully expected that a $2,500 camera probably doesn't sell that often. I'm wrong. Like, those things are moving off the shelves.
Wow.
If I got the latest firmware update on both cameras, and both cameras were ordered from 2 separate places, that's fresh inventory. So I don't have to do a firmware update on them. And doing the firmware update on a $2,500 camera, that's a little nail biting. It's not quite as safe as like doing it here on a motherboard.
I'm just wondering about like this power supply. What would and you going back to Corsair, and what if they want a when it was purchased or anything like that? Would that print screen, if you printed it out, would that work?
Yeah, I asked Martin to send me a copy of his receipt, because remember, I don't sell parts. My customers buy their own parts. And you bought that from Newegg, right? All of these parts came from Newegg.
And they went.
So Martin forwarded me a screenshot of his Newegg receipt. That's all I need. Yeah, and then if Corsair asks for it, I'll have it.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the Intel CPU. I asked that customer to send me his receipt. Turns out I didn't need it. But I'd rather have it and not need it than delay getting the ship back for you, because it's just going to make you wait longer. So yes, I have what I need from you with that regard.
Good.
Again, if they ask for it. Greg Lilly says he's got an Aurora's AMD motherboard and they call it XMP. Yeah, I don't know why AMD does that. Real Name says, I just PayPal'd you. Merry Christmas. Well, thank you, Real Name, if that is your real name. DOCP is what AMD calls it. Sergio Cochet says AMD created the DOCP feature to compete with XMP. But after years, most motherboard manufacturers opted by the XMP, and nowadays also AMD uses it. See, I've only just started seeing that. So, but I'm more familiar with the Intel line than AMD. I think that's pretty obvious. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. Are the XMB problems mostly likely at the fastest end of memory speeds? I've not done any testing in that regard. I just know some memory just doesn't work at any XMP speed with some motherboard models. So Depends on the RAM model, depends on the motherboard model, so it's very difficult to say it's more likely or less likely. You can always check the qualified vendor list or the QVL with regards to your RAM before you purchase it to test what the manufacturer has verified is working. Well, that doesn't mean if something's not on the list that it doesn't work. It may mean they just didn't get around to testing it. The manufacturer isn't going to buy every possible RAM module. So if you don't want to have any gamble and you want to make sure you're getting compatible RAM, make sure you check out the QVL list. And don't use the QVL list in the motherboard manual. You want to check it online because that's updated. The contribution just came in that is 200 Czech korunas. That is equivalent to $8.70 US dollars. Well, thank you so much. That just came in from, where'd the name go? Peter Moravec. He said, I also had some issues with XMP crashes and memory compatibility on Ryzen CPUs. Merry Christmas to you, Carey and Martin, and all the amazing people watching the stream. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
And then there were a couple others. Let's see. Where did they go? I know they're in here somewhere. Marty just contributed $10. Thank you, Marty. Randall Hills contributed $2. He says, Merry Christmas Eve, everybody. Well, not for us, it isn't. It'll be Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Oh, he did say Eve. Okay, I gotcha. Space bar, you know. It's not just Mos Eisley. And that's a nerd joke for those of you who get it. Brendan Looney contributed £3. He says, Merry Christmas to everyone. Is there any advantage or disadvantage in using a smaller solid-state drive as a cache drive for a hard disk drive? I wouldn't. Just use solid-state drives, period. DOCP stands for Direct Overclock Profile, whereas XMP is Extreme Memory Profile. Just to push the memory to go faster. What else? Can SSD drives be partitioned? Yes, every type of storage can be partitioned. Floppy drives, flash drives, solid state drives, yes. I don't recommend I don't recommend multiple partitions. It's just creating a wall you're going to run into sooner or later. We used to create partitions back with the FAT32 and FAT16 file systems because we lost slack space in the cluster size, which may sound Greek to you, but it doesn't exist anymore. The reason for partitioning, all those reasons are old school reasons. They don't exist with modern technology. It's people who learned that stuff years ago, and they just, sometimes when you teach somebody something, it can be harmful over the long time because they never unlearn it and they never move on from beyond that point. And then they go out spouting that information that's 20, 30 years old as though it applies today. And it doesn't. Now it's your drive, and you can partition it all you want to. I'm not recommending it. I don't recommend it to my customers. Hard drives are cheap. Instead of buying a partition or adding a partition, buy another drive. Start using the cloud, because eventually you're going to run into that wall you just voluntarily created with your partition, and it's just a completely avoidable and unnecessary problem you're going to create for yourself over time. David Griswold's contributed again, $10. He says, Merry Christmas, Carey and everyone. Thank you, David. B-Bo has contributed $2. Thank you, B-Bo. If you're playing your first-person shooter, you don't want it slower. Well, look, that's interesting because you guys can build the nicest machine with the best hardware. It doesn't make you a better gamer. I got some really nice pots and pans. You think I cook better? I got a nice expensive camera. It doesn't mean I'm a better photographer. So in the same way, your internet connection may be the biggest difference in your ability to game. If you've got high ping rates or high latency because the server you're connecting to is bogged down, or your internet connection, you're on a cable internet connection that's shared among other people in the neighborhood, and during certain times of the day it's busier than other times. Otherwise, you go to something like Google Stadia. If you've not heard of Google Stadia, basically, all the games are being rendered on Google servers. And they're just transmitting the video to you. Now you don't have to worry about your graphics card. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. It's all on Google servers. And of course, there's going to be a higher latency because they're basically rendering the frames and sending them to you. So the latency is going to be much, much higher. But if the latency is higher for everybody universally, it's still a fair game. To suggest that you getting higher frame rates makes you a better player is preposterous. It's in your head. It's a really weird logic. Like if you're able to beat me in a game because you spent more money than I did, then that's not a game I want to play. I already play that game. It's called life. There are people with money that get away with stuff that regular guys like you and me can't get away with. O.J. Simpson. But just, people that buy their way through, and can commit crimes and can just buy their own trophies, pay their way to winning. That's not a game I want to play. I want to play a game where the only thing that matters is skill level. If you ever watch Indy car racing, all those cars have weight limits and horsepower limits and gasoline tank size limits. So ultimately, they're all pretty much the same. All of those Indy cars are identical. What differentiates them are the drivers. Oh, and the Go Faster stickers. Yeah. The one with the fastest Go Faster stickers often wins. But that being said, justifying your gaming experience or your ability of how good of a player you are depends on what your frame rates are, suggests to me you're not a good player. You need a crutch. That's your handicap. I'm a true old school gamer. And in my day, the arcade games, we weren't looking at frames per second when you put a quarter in Galaga or Pac-Man. It was the same for everybody who played. And the ones who were truly more skilled and better at the game got the high score. Not the guy who opened the back of the machine and made it fire faster or give you an extra life. That's a whole different kind of gaming. That's gaming the system. And that doesn't make you a better gamer. And as you can tell, I don't have a lot of respect for people who think that their ability to game good is based on what they're gaming on. Absolutely not. A good photographer will take an excellent picture with a $5 camera or a $50,000 camera. And a good chef will cook you an excellent meal using pots and pans bought at the dollar store or using the most expensive pots and pans at Sonoma Williams. You know what I'm saying? So the way you prove you're a good gamer isn't by how much money you drop on your system. It's by what you can actually do as your skill as a human being. That's all I'm saying. I'm a true gamer. And true gaming is in the player, not in the game, not in the hardware. And remember, if you're gaming on the internet, that latency, if you have a lower latency than somebody else, then you have an advantage in the game. That doesn't make you a better player. Was my soapbox too high on that one?
Well, it reminds me of, this as strong as the chain is, it's as strong as its weakest link,
Well, just the idea that you think you're stronger because you have a chain and I don't. Your strength is in your muscles. It's not in the pulleys and tools that you're using to give you an advantage. Now, if everybody's doing it, and it's a requirement or a prerequisite to getting in the game, it should be a level playing field. You should not be able to buy yourself a higher position in my gaming ethics. It's not a real win.
It's like what's in the news with the parents paying off for the kids to go to some of these colleges and getting that they had the money,
Well, that's why I say there's enough of that in
make
real
them any smarter.
There's enough of that in real life, and that's a good example. There are people that work their butt off to earn the reward of going to one of these ivory schools. Mm-hmm. And there are other people who have very famous or rich parents that just buy their way in. They didn't earn it. And when you're taking a seat in the school away from somebody else who got turned down because they didn't have a famous parent or a rich parent. It's not fair.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I can do about that. In the world of gaming, there is something you can do. And that is when you're playing against somebody who's cheating or buying an advantage, play a game where people can't buy advantages, number one. Number two, don't play with cheaters. Just exit that server, go to a different server. Get away from that person because it's not fun anymore. Like I said, if I want that kind of frustration, I'll just deal with everyday life. I'm not going to pay to voluntarily put myself in a situation where I want to compete with people and those I'm competing against have paid for unfair advantages. That's a lost game before I ever started. I never had a chance.
Yeah.
So anyway, any other questions I can answer, I'll be happy to do so now. Oh, we're going to wrap it up. We're at 2 hours and 40 minutes on this stream. Oh, and a couple other contributions have come in. Let's give more shouts out. Let's see what we got here. Thomas X. Brusvin has contributed 200 Norwegian krona, which is, let's see, 200 NOK to USD, about $22.33 American. Oh, that's krona, not kroner. See, in Sweden it's kroner. I think Denmark is krona too. I try and pronounce the currency names correctly.
Well, you know more than I do, and I'm 1/4 Swede and 1/4 Danish.
Mike Zalaniski's contributed $10. He says, Merry Christmas, Carey. Thank you for all the content. Hey, thank you, Mike. Merry Christmas, of course, to everybody. Or whatever your holiday is, if it's not Christmas. I hope you guys have a great one. Pay to win. That's a great, Technologic says pay to win. Chris Storer says pay to win games are a literal waste of time. Forget pay to win games. How about pay to win mentality? How about people who think if they pay, they're more likely to win or be a better gamer? I mean, to a certain extent, you need a certain minimal amount of hardware to be able to process the game properly at a certain resolution. But anything above and beyond that, if it's gaining you an advantage, it shouldn't be. It doesn't make you a better gamer. And pay to win is a great, perfect expression for that.
To me, that brings into like being a gambler. When you're out in Vegas, and I'm not a gambler, everything is equal for all the darn players. You know what I'm saying?
In theory.
In theory.
I mean, there are card counters and other people who,
yeah,
who will flip that. But there's still a risk of losing.
Yeah. And we're getting caught.
And getting caught. With gaming, cheating or paying to give an advantage to yourself, I don't understand where the fun is in that.
No.
I don't understand what's the appeal. Do you think you're outsmarting somebody because you outspent them? That's weird. That's not brains.
That's all they get is I outsmarted them by spending my money.
Yeah, but that's not outsmarting. That's outspending.
Outspending, yeah. Instead of I did it on my own.
Right.
And I'm proud of what I did, Yep.
Paul wants to know if I'll be streaming over Christmas Day. I think what I will do on Christmas Day is I'll put a bunch of build videos together and play them in a loop. So it'll be like a 24-hour live stream where I can enjoy my day and you guys can watch some content you may have missed. And the chat room will be active so you guys can talk back and forth. I don't think I'll be live, but I think I will do like a 24 or 48-hour loop of a bunch of build videos. And I've got a lot of videos. I'm almost at 1,000 videos at this point.
I was going to say, you got more than 24 hours worth.
Just of builds, yeah.
Yeah.
Forget the repairs and the questions and answer sessions.
And the screws that won't loosen up. You know what I did with Facebook? I got my name and password already in there, for Google, and I hit, the go button, whatever you want to call it, it flashes up a different screen, and I think what happens is that laptop is much faster than what Facebook can handle. Does that make any sense?
I'd have to see it.
Okay.
I'd have to see it. I'm not sure.
I'll have to do a screenshot and show it to you and see.
Or I can log in remotely maybe and I can see it remote. But maybe a screenshot, we can start there. It's easy enough. Bitmouth wants to know the most expensive computer I've ever worked on. For Newegg, I did, there was a sponsored giveaway from Intel using a customized transforming motorized case that would open with the push of a button, even on a cell phone app. Really stupid. But it was cool. I mean, it was cool, but it was stupid. But that was like $6,000, and somebody won that free and clear, just here you go. And that was probably the most expensive. But coming up very soon will be the Zynos G3 build, which is a build I've been trying to get done for over 4 years now. The Zynos G3 is made of complete aircraft-grade aluminum that's been billeted. It's billet aluminum that's been CNC'd.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like indestructible. It's got a 7-inch color screen on the front with a 3-line LCD screen down below so you can monitor your CPU temps and all this other information can be monitored right on the front of the case. It's got a see-through Blu-ray player that you can watch the disc spin on. That's reversible, so if you want the door to open to the right or to the left, you can spin it around.
God.
It doesn't have much in the way of cable management. That computer, when it's all said and done, the case itself is $1,900. But, it starts off as like 300 pounds of aluminum. And most of that gets milled away and recycled. I think when it's done, it's like 30 pounds. It's like 90% lighter. And furthermore, it's micro ATX, so I have to use a smaller board. But I'm going to put a 9900 KS processor with a Kraken X62, probably put 32 or 64 gigs of RAM in it. I'll throw a 2080 Ti in there. Like, this is a Ferrari of a case, and so it needs Ferrari level components inside. It will probably have a value of $5,000 or $6,000, and will probably be it will be the most expensive system I will have built here on the channel. This has been a long time in the making. Custom part was designed so we can put a liquid cooler on it, and that part is scheduled to arrive tomorrow. The guy who builds these cases is in Canada, and I explained what I wanted to do. He 3D, AutoCAD'd rendered out this plate. We have to add another section to the case for the liquid cooler. And he's engraved it, anodized it to match the anodization of the case he sent me. I have tried building this computer 4 times already, and I have thrown everything on the cutting room floor because I didn't like it. I never completed it. Like, I started it, and I didn't like the way the video was coming out. So now I'm going to do it live, just like I do any other build, but it's all going to be super high-end components, and it's coming very, very soon, but I can't say when. Just know it's going to be soon.
Good grief. When they mill out that big block of aluminum.
Well, it's several blocks.
Well, so you got to have everything set in stone before you.
One of the reasons why the case is so expensive, if there's any flaw, then the anodization won't stick. It's like an electrified thing they do to anodize it. And when you pay this kind of money for a case, there can't be any imperfections. So that piece will have to be re-milled again from fresh, and that'll go back and be recycled and melted down and turned into another block. So there's a lot of components that don't pass muster that have to be recycled. It adds to the expense of the case, not to mention how many hours it has to be in the CNC machine.
Yeah.
Plus the anodization process.
The CNC, what do you call it now? I have to put in for the computer to do its thing.
So anyway, if you want to take a look at that case, go to Zynos.com or Xenos, XYNOS.com, and you'll see there's available in 3 different colors. Check it out. It's one of those cases that people say it's the most beautiful case I've ever seen, or they'll say it's the ugliest case I've ever seen. That suggests to me that that's true art. If it evokes a strong emotion one way or the other, then I would say job well done.
Yeah. Well, art's in the eyes of the beholder. You may think it's art. I may think it's
Yep, exactly. Versus, the Corsair 200 Arcade is pretty plain. It doesn't really evoke any emotion. It's just a black box, which is good too. Sometimes people don't want to draw attention to it. They don't want it to be.
I just want it to work. Yeah. It's amazing.
Mike Britton has contributed $5. He says, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night and a Happy New Year. Thank you, Mike. Thanks again for everybody who's contributing during the stream today. I really appreciate it very much. Abdul Aziz Patel just contributed $5. He says, I got my second rig up and running. Is the Windows 10 key tied to the motherboard only? It is primarily tied to the motherboard, but the only thing you can do is try and activate it. If it activates, it activates. If it doesn't, it's up to you if you want to call Microsoft and see if they can get it activated over the phone. Microsoft doesn't exactly tell you how Windows defines how it's tied, just like credit companies don't define exactly how your credit score is determined here in America, because otherwise people would manipulate it. So there's a little bit of secret sauce in there. So the only way you're going to know is to try it and see what happens. Because no matter what I tell you, won't alter reality. And all that matters is the reality of it. So I cannot tell you for sure that it won't activate for you. And mods, thank you for bringing abusers to my attention. I've taken care of them. I appreciate what you guys are doing. You're doing a good job. I appreciate it more than you can possibly know. So thank you for that. I see Ben Fitzpatrick in the chat room. Hey, Ben. And Dave Murray. Dave watches us from Scotland.
Oh.
And he's got this calendar that he sends me every year. He's an amateur photographer. I think he's amateur. He might be professional based on what I'm seeing. And I think I have that calendar. Oh no, where did I put it? Some stuff I put away because I don't want it to, get bent or folded. And then I can't remember where I put it. Put it away somewhere good. Oh well, I was going to show it to everybody again. As soon as I end the live stream, I'll know exactly where I put it. Anyway, Dave's got this, he lives in Scotland, he takes pictures of those scenic landscapes and trains and stuff in Scotland. They're beautiful pictures.
Posted that on one of your
I've shown it here
videos.
on video.
Yeah.
He did one, he sent me one last year and he sent me one this year.
Uh-huh.
And he'll sell them to people if they want to buy them. So shout out there for Dave Murray. He says, yes, another plug from Carey. I mean, it's real. You go to a calendar store and buy some generic calendar, but when it comes from somebody you know or you feel like you know, it's a little more special. Sharon says, I reported the troll too. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. If you guys see somebody abusing the chat room, you can always hit the little 3 dots next to their message and hit report. When an individual reports another individual, it doesn't really do much. But if there's 1,000 of you watching and 200 or 300 of you all report the same individual, what happens is YouTube's automated algorithms kick in and just ban that person automatically. So if you want to do more to sort of punish the trolls, that's a good way to shut them down, is hit that report button on bad behavior. So anyway, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Thanks you guys so much for watching. Martin, thanks for joining me again. It's always
It was an unexpected pleasure.
Yeah, you didn't know we were going to film?
Exactly.
You thought you were coming over my house with a repair and that I wasn't going to film it.
Well.
How well do you know me? No, it's always good to see you, and I appreciate it.
I can tell you how long it's been. It's almost been, 14 years.
Is that all?
It was when you were at Sun City Grand and you did your computer.
I was promoting my book.
Yeah, and I bought it.
And I ran across it a couple days ago.
That would have been probably around 2005, so that sounds
Yeah.
right.
Yep, 2005.
2004,
I moved out there in
2005, yeah.
2004.
Oh, from where? Where did you move from?
The wonderful dry state of Washington,
Oh,
in Seattle. We went from the mud hole to the sandbox.
all right, fair enough.
I hope your Washingtonians don't think that.
Is that what they're called? Washingtonians?
Washingtonians.
Washingtonians.
Or Worshing.
That's, yeah. I'm originally a Michigander, so that's an easier word to pronounce. Washingtonian? Wow, that's a mouthful. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching and joining us today. And again, a shout out to everybody who contributed. There's a lot of names here, so let me give them all one last shout out. And one I just missed, I think. Arvid Bolaris has contributed 200 Norwegian krona. He says, Merry Christmas, Carey. Just want to say thanks for your long videos to keep me distracted while waiting for the new 32-core Threadripper and water cooling parts getting sent to me. Hope you film it. That'd be great to see. If you do want to film your build and share it with me, I will share it with my audience. If you want that kind of attention, just make sure it's done in good lighting. Keep the camera still. Don't move the camera too quickly. And show your face, if possible. And thanks to Mike Britton and Abdul Avzi Patel, Mike Zalaniski, Thomas X. Brusvin, B. Bo, David Griswold, Brendan Looney, Randall Hill, Madi Yoel, Peter Maravek, Alt Fit, Ryan Farmer, David R. Register, Thomas, who contributed $2. I missed that one. He says, you were right about the Wraith Prism Cooler. Yeah, it gets loud, doesn't it? Thomas Robinson says, Merry Christmas. Say Merry Christmas to your dogs for me. I don't think they understand that. But Merry Christmas, Lyle and Jimmy. And to Madi Yoel and Thomas Beckenstow, Gamer PS1234, Chris Storer, Irving T, John Wilson, Shane D, Chris Garrett, Wonder Woman, Mervyn Jordan, Michael Barra, Steve Shaw, Louis67, Pat DeMarco, David Griswold, Lurchicus, Joseph Panariello, Cogjin, Mitch N, Michael Ryder, Steve Devine, Mike Dane. I missed his contribution here. He says, Carey, I just refurbished 2 more computers and gave them to a couple of needy families in my area. Thanks for your video. You're a cool dude, Mike. That's really nice of you. And it's its own reward, you know. It really is. Paul Newman contributed $2.99 Australian dollars. He says, happy holidays. And again to Brendan Looney, Red Dragon, Ben DeCour, Heinrich Bo Anderson, Lab Tech Nick, A. Reynolds, Michael B., Michael Brooks, Rick Hubbard, Chester Hughes, and the first contribution that started since the stream was, of course, good friend of the channel, Jesse Kirk. Thanks to all of you for supporting the channel. Thanks to all of my friends in blue for helping keep things civil in there today. And, of course, to all of you watching, thanks for watching. I will be back with another live video tomorrow. I have another repair. In fact, it just arrived just before you and I started filming. UPS brought me a box, much bigger box than I was expecting. And a gentleman named Michael shipped his computer to me for repair. He built a system. It's having some crashing issues. He's frustrated. So that'll be another repair video tomorrow. I hope you'll join me for it. I hope to start around 12 o'clock Pacific time, give or take. And that's going to wrap it up for me. So on behalf of Martin and myself, unless you have something to say.
Yeah, good thing the person didn't bring the computer here in person because he'd be on the show tomorrow, right?
You love it. You love it. No, they would be if they wanted. I don't force anybody on camera.
What the heck? This is enjoy life.
Right?
Yeah.
And thanks for humoring me.
Well, you humored me by putting me on, so. And I want to thank everybody out there in TV land, or what is it, YouTube land, or thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks you guys so much for tuning in and for being a part of this amazing community that we're building. And I will see you all again tomorrow afternoon. Until then, bye for now.
Yeah.